Welcome to novelsaudio.com. We hope you have a relaxing and enjoyable time.
Stranger Marriage, Chapter 199. Jasmine asked in surprise, "Really? Brinfield is a high-end neighborhood, but I didn't expect someone who drives a Rolls-Royce would live there. If they're so rich, why not live in a villa?" Mr. York said that perhaps some rich kid went to a nearby school, so the parents bought an apartment for the kid in Brinfield. That way, it's more convenient for the kid to travel to school. That family might have countless villas. Jasmine smiled. "True, let's go to the supermarket. By the way, did Grandma May say that she's coming over?" "Not anymore." "Why now?" The owner of the house disagreed. Jasmine was speechless. The owner of the house was Zachary, Grandma May's grandson. Grandma May wanted to come over for the weekend, but her grandson did not allow it. What an unfilial child. The two got into Jasmine's car and left beans and cream. Shortly after, Jasmine parked the car in a large shopping mall. After strolling around the mall, the two of them came out with many bags of goodies. At this time, Serenity missed going to the mall with Zachary. With him around, he would help her carry the bags no matter how much she bought. After Jasmine put the things into the car, she was gasping for air. "This is the only time I think of wanting a man to accompany me when I'm out shopping. I didn't think about the logistics Worfy was buying all that stuff. Now that I'm carrying all the bags, they're so heavy that my arms are about to break. I regret having bought so much." Serenity laughed. No wonder she and Jasmine could become best friends. They had the same thoughts. Serenity was just thinking about the benefits of going shopping with Zachary, but Jasmine said at first, "Hurry up and find a boyfriend then. It'll be easier to go shopping in the future." Jasmine sat in the driver's seat and fastened her seatbelt while she said, "You think a good boyfriend is easy to find? I want one that suits me. Someone that I have feelings for. If a boyfriend like that is so easy to find, I wouldn't have been single all this while and wouldn't to hide from my family because of their constant urging. You just haven't found the one for you yet. There's no rush. You're only 25 this year. You're young and can afford to be single for a couple more years. My mom wasn't so anxious before when you were still single. Once you got married, my mother started to rush me as if I could never get married. She's been pushing me since then and wishing she could arrange 1,000 blind dates for Maine a day so I would be married off the next day." Jasmine could understand where her mother was coming from. Her mother thought Jasmine had better conditions than Serenity, but Serenity got married before her. Even if Serenity and Zachary got married at first sight, Zachary seemed like a decent man. On the other hand, Jasmine still did not have a boyfriend, and her blind dates fell through time and again. That was why Jasmine's mother was so anxious. Fortunately, Jasmine's mother stopped urging her to get married these days. That was because Jasmine was willing to go all out for some peace and quiet. Serenity giggled. She often saw Jasmine's mother and knew that Jasmine's mother was only anxious about Jasmine's marriage after seeing that she was married. "Your mother is relentless, but that's normal with mothers. I want to have a mother to encourage me like this, but I can't even remember what my mother looks like now." Serenity's parents did not take many photos while they were still alive. Smartphones were not popular at that time, so the only photos of her parents left behind were a few which were kept by Liberty. Serenity had to look at the photos every time to remember what her parents looked like. Jasmine comforted her friend while she drove. "Your parents must be up in heaven, blessing you and Liberty." Serenity was silent. If her parents were in heaven blessing them both, the viral incident on Twitter would not have happened. Serenity and her sisters also would not have suffered through such a tough and pitiful childhood. Jasmine knew that parents were a heavy topic for her friend, so she quickly changed the subject. It took a while to revive the mood. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 200. Jasmine and Serenity went to Liberty's apartment. Serenity got out of Jasmine's car. Her face stiffened when she saw a familiar car parked there. "What's wrong?" "That car belongs to Liberty's sister-in-law. She must have come to trouble my sister again. Liberty's sister-in-law is definitely one of the worst people I know. She's comparable to the relatives from my hometown." Jasmine said, "Let's hurry up then. If she bullies Liberty, we'll kick her out together." Serenity had already grabbed her things to head inside. Jasmine quickly followed. The Browns visited again. As usual, it was just Chelsea and Mrs. Brown. They came to persuade Liberty to take Hank back from their house. Hank went too. live at his parents' house, but ate his meals at his sister's house because his parents took care of Chelsea's children and cooked at her place. Fortunately, both his parents' and sister's houses were close by. They were in the same neighborhood but opposite blocks. Chelsea watched as her parents bought loads of delicious food for her brother every day. Although her family also ate them, Chelsea was jealous of her parents' partial treatment of buying expensive food for her brother. Fortunately, Chelsea had a sense of propriety even though she was money-hungry, so she did not express her discomfort. After enjoying the help of her parents for so long, Chelsea was used to the benefits of monopolizing her parents. Hank was at his parents' house for a few days, and Chelsea took the most initiative in trying to reconcile Hank and Liberty so he could return to his own home as soon as possible. Liberty, it's inevitable for a couple to quarrel and fight. There are only a handful of couples who had never quarreled or fought before. You should get over this after cooling down for a few days. Life has to go on, don't you think? Chelsea said. Hank is a big man with a strong self-esteem, but he actually feels remorseful for hitting you that day. We're also wrong for taking his side. You should compromise and bring him back. Forget that it ever happened and continue to live a happy life like you always have. As soon as Serenity opened the door, she heard Mrs. Brown persuading her sister. Chelsea said, Liberty, you should watch out for another woman stealing your husband if you keep giving Hank the cold shoulder. Hank is young and has a promising future. He's quite handsome and looks like a bachelor. Many young women have a thing for mature men like him with a successful career. Hank was a manager with a 5-figure basic monthly salary. He also made extra money from commission, which would add up to nearly $100,000 a month. To Chelsea, Hank was considered a man with a successful career. Therefore, Chelsea always looked down on Liberty, thinking that Liberty was not worthy of her brother. Moreover, Liberty still had yet promised to help take care of Chelsea's children, which greatly displeased Chelsea. Chelsea's oldest child was starting junior high school the next year. Her child's school pickup and drop-off problem must be solved quickly. Naturally, Chelsea had to coax Liberty into agreeing. Otherwise, Chelsea would not willingly soften her stance and accompany her mother to persuade Liberty. Liberty was feeding her son some porridge and did not seem to have not heard her in-laws. Sonny. Mrs. Brown went to play with her grandson when she saw that her daughter-in-law remained silent. Sonny, do you miss your dad? Stranger Marriage, Chapter 201, Lingfei 201. Instead of answering whether he missed his father, Sonny only said, Daddy work. Liberty and Serenity raised Sonny, and Sonny only got to see his father on weekends. When Sonny woke up, his father had already gone to work, and when Sonny fell asleep at night, his father had not come home. Thus, Sonny did not have much of a bond with his father. Even when Hank was at home, Hank would not play with Sonny and rather play with his phone. Liberty, look. Sonny grew distant from his dad after being apart for a few days. That's not good for his growth. A boy can't grow up without fatherly love. There are many things that fathers need to teach their sons. Mrs. Brown initially thought that her grandson would say that he missed his father, so she could use it as an excuse to make Liberty compromise for Sonny's sake. However, to her surprise, Sonny did not miss Hank. Fortunately, Mrs. Brown was quick-witted and made up a conversation, picking up from where her grandson left off. Liberty glanced at her mother-in-law and said coldly, Even if Hank is at home, have you ever seen him take care of Sonny? Sonny is our child, but I've been taking care of him by myself. Hank does even play with Sonny. When Hank has nothing to do at home on weekends, he chats with people on his phone or watches videos while laughing like a fool. He doesn't even want to play with his son. How could Sonny have a deep relationship with a father like him? Any relationship must be cultivated. Even if Hank was Sonny's biological father, their relationship would not get any better if they did not spend time together to build a bond. Mrs. Brown opened her mouth, but she had nothing to say. Chelsea carried on with the conversation and said, Hank is usually busy with work, so he needs to relax and rest at home on weekends. You don't have a job and only stay at home to care for Sonny every day. Don't tell me that you have a lot of housework to do. When your sister was living here, she helped out with the chores, so you didn't do much. All you do is eat. Look at how fat you've become. Hank disliked Liberty for getting fatter and uglier. Even Chelsea was disgusted by that. How could Liberty allow herself to eat until she was obese? Come with us to bring Hank back after you're done feeding Sonny. Hank's wounds are healed, so he can go back to work on Monday. You two need to move on and stop quarreling because it's not good for Sonny's development. Chelsea muttered, if you continue to be like this, you'll regret it one day. Hank had a new lover during the few days when Hank took leaves of absence from work to recuperate at home. His new lover, Jessica Yates, came to take care of Hank every day after work. The two of them clung together like conjoined twins. Chelsea did not like Liberty and wished that Hank would dump Liberty. However, when they get divorced, her parents would want custody of Sonny since Sonny was their only paternal grandson. Sonny was a little over 2 years old and was very naughty. It would take a lot of energy to take care of Sonny. If her parents took care of Sonny, they could no longer help Chelsea to take care of her third child. Chelsea reminded Liberty not for Liberty's sake, but for her own benefit. This is Hank's house. Did he break his leg or lose his sense of direction? Doesn't he know how to come back on his own? Why does my sister have to pick him up? Who the hell does he think he is? Serenity could not stand it anymore and interjected them. She brought Jasmine into the house. Both of them carried many shopping bags. When Mrs. Brown and Chelsea saw Serenity, their faces turned glum. They went to Serenity's bookstore to complain to her, but they left in despair. Aunt swore. As soon as Sonny saw Serenity, he stood up and stumbled over with a smile on his face. Sonny was ignorant and did not know what his grandma and aunt said to his mother, so their conversation did not affect his mood. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 202. Serenity put the bags on the coffee table before hugging Sonny and asking him gently, Sonny, are you eating porridge? Sonny nodded. Yes. Are you full? Sonny rubbed his belly, thought about it, and shook his head. He felt that he had not had enough and was still a little hungry. Serenity smiled. She sat down in front of the sofa and took the half-eaten bowl of porridge from her sister and said, I'll feed Sonny, okay? Okay. Jasmine greeted Liberty and put the things she was carrying on the coffee table too. She also nodded to the Browns in greeting Liberty, only turned around to talk to her in-laws after Serenity took over the task of feeding Sonny. I won't pick up Hank. He can come back whenever he wants. If he doesn't want to, you two will just need to take care of him. Hank even asked Liberty to refund his share of the food expenses. What else could she say when they have already come to this point? Liberty knows she was also at fault. Expenses, it added up to less than $10,000. Hank made around $70,000 and spent less than $10,000 on his little family. Liberty could not see or touch the remainder of his income, so who knew whether he spent it elsewhere or saved it for himself? Oh, Hank also gave his parents an allowance every month, which was definitely higher than the expenses he gave Liberty. Therefore, how much Hank made had nothing to do with Liberty as his wife. Liberty did not know how her 3-year marriage ended up like this. She actually endured all of this. Was it because of love? Maybe so. Liberty was shocked to realize how miserable she was after being disheartened and disappointed lately. This was not the marriage life she yearned for. If Serenity had not given her $5,000 every month for the past few years, Liberty would have been even more miserable. Serenity had more foresight than Liberty and asked Liberty to save half of the $5,000 for herself. Otherwise, Liberty would regret it more. Liberty regretted being incompetent and living like that after marriage. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 203. Hearing Liberty's rebuttal, Mrs. Brown opened her mouth to say something but could not speak. After all, Mrs. Brown was the one who suggested that her son split the household expenses with her daughter-in-law. She knew that even without splitting it, her daughter-in-law had no control over her son's money. Mom, let's go. Chelsea was displeased with Liberty's attitude and refused to let her mother waste another breath. She dragged her mother away and glanced at the things Serenity and Jasmine bought for Liberty on the way out. As they arrived downstairs, Chelsea said to her mother, Mom, you mentioned Serenity's husband works in a large company, right? Does he have a high income? Since Serenity married him, her every visit came with lots of gifts. I glanced at the bags and saw all those fruits she bought were very expensive. They're all imported and pricey fruits like durians and cherries. A durian costs at least $200 and a pound of cherries cost tens of dollars. Mrs. Brown said, think about your brother's income. Serenity's husband works for York Corporation, which is the largest company in Wiltspoon. Your brother said that the people who work there are top talents in the country. With Hank, she could call her brothers to beat up Hank. This marriage would only work if Hank married Jessica and treated her like a princess. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 204. Mrs. Brown said, I'm a little worried about how much Hank listens to Jessica. That girl knows how to play hard to get and still hasn't given herself to Hank. The more Hank waits, the more he wants her. She's making Hank go head over heels for her. If they get married and Hank lets her take charge of his bank account, our life will be tougher. Chelsea thought about the monthly allowance her brother gave her parents and how it was used on her own family. She benefited a lot from that and did not want this benefit to be taken away by her new and soon-to-be sister-in-law. Thus, she said, forget it then. That's Hank and Liberty's business. Let them deal with it. As long as Hank can keep his affair hidden from Liberty, I won't interfere with it. Men aren't reliable. They'll fool around if they are rich and capable. Mrs. Brown felt that her son was capable enough to attract a young and beautiful girl even when he was a father. Anyway, her son would not be at a loss no matter what. Liberty knew that her mother-in-law and sister-in-law would speak ill of her, but she did not know that they would help Hank to keep his extramarital affair a secret. After sending off the annoying mother and daughter, Liberty said, Saren, Jasmine, why have you bought a bunch of things? Liberty. It's just some fruits and snacks, nothing too expensive. Jasmine smiled. I thought that since you're home alone with Sunny, you can eat as much as you like. If you can't finish it, just put it in the refrigerator and take your time eating it. At least that way, it won't be taken away by unwanted guests. She noticed how Chelsea took a glance at these things before leaving last time. Hank gave away the gifts Serenity and Zachary bought for Liberty to his parents and sister, which infuriated her. After Serenity finished feeding her nephew, she brought a new toy to her nephew and let him play by himself. She asked her sister, Liberty, did you notice what Chelsea said? What did she say? Chelsea spoke too much earlier, so Liberty was not bothered to listen, let alone remember. She said that if you keep fighting with Hank, you should watch out for other women stealing your husband. I feel like she's hinting at something. Maybe Hank does have a mistress. Liberty, you should keep an eye out for it. If he's cheating on you, collect evidence before you get a divorce. That way, you can fight for your share of the assets. You can't just let them keep everything. Liberty was a little surprised, but at the same time, it was not totally unexpected. Hank paid a lot of attention to maintaining his figure. He wore suits and dress shoes every day, exuding the charm of a mature man with a successful career. Even though he only drove a six-figure car, which he bought before his promotion to a managerial position and was still repaying the car loan, he was nevertheless a successful man in the eyes of others. As long as he had the will, he could easily chase after young and beautiful girls to be his mistresses. I'm not bothered about his affairs at the moment. Let me find a job first. Liberty felt that the most important thing now was to get a job and a source of income. She had a hunch that her marriage with Hank was coming to an end. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 205. Serenity agreed. I'm only reminding you, don't worry too much about finding a job. Jasmine chimed in, look slowly and find a job that suits you. If you really can't find one, why don't you help me and Serenity out at the store? I'll pay you well. Or would you like to start your own business, Liberty? Liberty watched her son play. She sounded helpless as she said, I don't have that much capital to start my own business, and I don't know what kind of business I should take up. It's hard to do business in brick-and-mortar stores now. Serenity's bookstore was right in front of Wiltspoon School, so their business was steady. If it was in a different location, it might not have survived. The small shops at the entrance of Wiltspoon School had a high rental, so not everyone could afford them. It took some connections to rent a shop there. Serenity only managed to rent that place only because Jasmine's family helped out. Liberty, why don't I teach you to make some handicrafts? You can start an online business, so you can make money at home while taking care of Sunny. My online business is doing wonderfully now, and most of the products are pre-ordered. I have plenty of orders now that I'm kept busy every day. This month, her online business earned more money than the bookstore. Even when the bookstore ordered several sets of study materials for students this month, its profit could not match her online business. Serenity felt that she was blessed. Her online business had been there for a few years, and the business had always been steady. However, it suddenly became popular this month, and the reviews were great. I also plan to expand the operation of my online business. I don't want to limit it to handicrafts and want to learn to make some. Hair accessories. I fancy those vintage hair accessories. Jasmine agreed with Serenity and felt that Serenity's business idea would work. Liberty smiled bitterly and said, "Saren, I'm not as creative as you are. I get a headache when I see the raw materials that you use to make handicrafts. This isn't something anyone can learn even if they want to. It requires interest and creativity. Otherwise, the business won't boom if there are no new products." Serenity was indisputably creative. She kept this online business going for several years and was skilled with making handicrafts. If she had a new product idea, she would spend a long time designing it and making prototypes. She would only succeed after making a few defects. Serenity had been in this line of business and was aware that what her sister said was true. She sighed and said, "Well, then take your time looking for a job. I'm sure you'll be able to find one. If you can't get into a big company, apply for smaller ones. Although you'll make less, you'll probably have less to do compared to a bigger company." She had never worked in the corporate world and opened this bookstore with Jasmine after graduation. The online business started when she was 20, and it had been 5 years since then. Accustomed to freedom, Serenity was reluctant to be restricted in the corporate world. "Saren, is Zachary working?" Today, Liberty asked about her brother-in-law. "No, he has 2 days off every weekend. When I went out this morning, he was still asleep. He's probably hanging out with his friends now." Serenity took out her phone and shot a message to her husband. "Serenity, Mr. York, where are you now? What are you doing?" After some thought, she quickly sent another message to explain herself. "Serenity, I'm not checking on you. I'm just asking because my sister asked." "About you." Zachary did not reply to Serenity's messages after a long time. He was still sitting in beans and cream. He asked for a cup of black coffee and drank it slowly. He had not finished it after several hours. Suddenly, he received 2 messages from Serenity. He read it but did not reply because he did not want to talk to her. Serenity had found herself a new boyfriend anyway. Zachary and Serenity would get a divorce as soon as their agreement expires. He swore he would do so without the slightest hesitation. "Zachary, who messaged you? Is it your wife?" Josh teased. Zachary's face was gloomy as he said coldly, "We're only husband and wife in name, just so I can return her favor for saving my grandma. To be honest, I signed an agreement with her. After half a year, we'll get a divorce due to incompatible personalities." Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 206. It had been 1 month since Zachary married Serenity, and there were 5 months left before they would get a divorce and go their separate ways. They would have nothing to do with each other then. Josh and Duncan looked at each other. Duncan said, "I thought all the men in the York family can't get a divorce? I'm an exception." Zachary added coldly, "You know why I got married to Serenity. Even if I want a divorce, my Nana can't say anything about me, let alone other people. All of them know that I've suffered." Yes, he had suffered. To repay the favor of saving his Nana's life, Zachary married Serenity, who was a complete stranger. After marriage, he was generous and tolerant of her, but what did she do? Serenity lied about going to her sister's house when she was actually having lunch with Sean. Zachary, who refused to admit that he was jealous, automatically ignored Jasmine's presence. He also forgot that Jasmine and Sean were cousins who were close to each other. "Don't call her my wife in the future. She doesn't deserve me." Zachary's voice was deep and cold. His handsome face was grim. Josh said to him, "Weren't you showing off at the office the clothes that your wife bought for you 2 days ago? Why'd you suddenly change your tune? Did you two get into an argument?" Zachary glared at Josh. "I didn't ask for your opinion." He was a little annoyed when Josh reminded him of that. That was the first time Zachary wore such a cheap suit. He only wore it because she bought it for him. He thought they would be living together for a while, so he wanted to show some appreciation by wearing the clothes she gave him. On the flip side, she did not even notice it all day. Zachary seriously doubted that she even remembered what the clothes she bought for him looked like. "I don't have time to argue with her. Let's go to my hotel for drinks." My treat. Zachary was in a bad mood, which turned for the worse when his friend reminded him of this. He got up and went out to go to his hotel for drinks. "Okay, We'll sacrifice our liver to accompany you and drink to your heart's content today. Josh and Duncan stood up. They followed Zachary and left beans and cream. Someone secretly reported to Grandma May every move Zachary made in the cafe. After receiving first-hand gossip, Grandma May asked the manager of the cafe, "Have you seen his wife in the cafe?" The manager asked, "Isn't Mr. York single?" The old lady smiled. "Oh, look at me, I'm getting old and forgetful. I think I've been longing for a granddaughter-in-law for so long that I've gone delusional, thinking that Zach is married. Send me the surveillance footage of the cafe today." The manager was also aware of how much his boss was looking forward to her grandchildren getting married and thought she was a little delusional too. Thus, he did not have the slightest doubt about Grandma May's lies and said respectfully, "Yes, ma'am. All right, you can go about your work. Zach's always cold like an iceberg. Sigh, with his temper, I don't know when he'll be able to get married. I'm so worried about him." The manager did not know how to answer. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 207. There was no reply from Zachary, so Serenity said to her sister, "Zachary's probably having a good time with his friends. He didn't reply to my message yet. You don't have to come here tomorrow. Spend some quality time with Zachary." Liberty had a failed marriage, so she hoped her sister's marriage would be better and longer than her own. She approved of Zachary as her brother-in-law because he was genuinely kind to her sister and was more generous than Hank. Although Liberty had known Hank for a long time, Hank was reluctant to buy her a scooter even when he had ample savings. Serenity was the one who bought her the e-bike. "All right," Serenity said. "By the way, are the Hunts still looking for trouble with you?" Liberty asked about her money-hungry relatives. "I wonder what happened to them." Grandmom had probably undergone the surgery by now. They wanted to reconcile the last time they came over but didn't return after that. They're probably embarrassed. Besides, that trending story has been topped by new ones. There's no trace of it now, so the impact on them is limited. That's why they won't come again. What Serenity did not know was that Zachary helped her to solve the problem. She thought her money-hungry relatives were too embarrassed to come looking for her again. Liberty was relieved. In the evening after they had dinner, Liberty urged her sister to go home. Jasmine did not want to go back to face her mother's disappointed face, so she followed Serenity to Brinfield and visited Serenity's apartment. "Serenity, your apartment is spacious and well lit. I especially like your balcony. You can sit on the swing, read a book, and enjoy the flowers out here. How relaxing. If you have a small coffee table in front of the swing, you can drink tea, too. It'll be even cozier." Serenity smiled. "That's a great suggestion. I'll buy a small coffee table tomorrow and put it here. I bought some of these flowers and Zachary bought the rest. I don't know which florist he went to pick them up from. Their flowers are healthy, beautiful, and huge." Serenity was truly satisfied with Zachary's way of doing things. "Mr. York bought those flowers? They are beautiful. Can you ask him where he bought them? I want to buy a dozen pots from there and place them on my balcony on the second story at home." Serenity agreed. The two girls chatted for a long time, and Jasmine did not leave until after 9 o'clock in the evening. After Jasmine left, Serenity sat down on the sofa and watched TV. Having lived in this apartment for a while, Serenity had rarely turned on the TV. Since Serenity did not usually watch shows, she did not know which channel to tune into when she turned on the TV. She then simply turned it off and scrolled through some news, trending stories, and videos on her phone. Time flew by. When Serenity looked at the clock, it was already 11 at night. Serenity went into her room to take a bath. When she came out of the bathroom, she heard a knock on the apartment's door. Did Zachary not bring the key, or was he drunk again? Serenity responded and opened the door. Jim was standing at the door, holding Zachary up. Zachary's face was flushed, and he smelled of alcohol. At a glance, Serenity knew that Zachary was drunk. I'm the substitute driver. Your husband is drunk again, so I drove him back." Serenity smiled. "It's you again. Thanks for taking my husband back." She stretched out her hand to help Zachary, but Zachary slapped her hand away and pushed Jim aside. His face was cold as he walked past Serenity. Serenity had a good temper and did not throw a fit. She thanked Jim again before closing and locking the door. She turned around and saw Zachary sitting on the sofa. His whole body exuded a chill, and he seemed to be angry. Who pissed him off? Serenity was silent for a moment before she walked over and asked him, "Why did you drink again? How much did you drink?" "None of your business." Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 208. Zachary was seething. Serenity was rendered speechless. Did he think she wanted to find out? Serenity was only concerned because he was her husband on paper. She turned around and left. When Zachary saw that Serenity walked away from him without a tinge of care for him, he became more upset. In the future, don't open the door in your pajamas. Serenity walked toward the kitchen. I'm wearing underwear. Now that she was living with Zachary, she only took off her underwear before turning in lest she encountered a similar situation and had to open the door for him again. Mr. York, how I dress is none of your business. I remember the agreement you wrote stating that the two of us should not interfere in each other's private affairs. Zachary said nothing. His face was glum. The agreement Zachary drew up back then was completely in his favor. Every clause was restraining her, but why did Zachary feel that he was being restrained instead? Serenity went into the kitchen and poured him a glass of warm water. When the water cooled down, she added some honey to the water and stirred it before she brought over the drink. Zachary leaned back against the sofa but could not fall asleep. When he saw Serenity walking out of the kitchen, he looked at Serenity indifferently. Serenity came over with the glass of honey water and placed it in front of him. I won't argue with you since you're drunk. Drink this glass of honey water before you head back to your room to wash up and sleep. After she spoke, she turned on her heel and left. Suddenly, a large hand reached out and grabbed her wrist. Serenity was pulled back by the force and fell into Zachary's arms. Although Zachary drank a good amount of alcohol, he was still nimble. Before Serenity had time to react, Zachary spun her around and pinned her down on the sofa. Serenity felt her eyes spinning for a while. When she came back to her senses, she had already been pressed down by Zachary on the sofa. Zachary, what the hell are you doing? Was he the one always afraid that she would take advantage of him? Zachary was now on top of Serenity. Their bodies were stacked together like Legos. Who was taking advantage of whom? Did you really go to your sister's house today? Zachary was in a bad mood all day because he saw Serenity and Sean eating together. She even served Sean some dishes. He told her countless times that she should not cheat on him during their marriage. Even if she wanted to find another boyfriend, she had to wait until their marriage was over. However, she did not listen to him. How much did she like Sean? Sean was just a young and clueless boy who was 3 years younger than Serenity. Did she want to be a cougar? She was indirectly looking down on Zachary for being old. I went to my sister's house. Zachary stared at her intensely. His expression became even colder. Serenity, I'll give you another chance to confess. What should I confess to? I didn't do anything wrong, Zachary. Why are you acting ridiculous? Tonight, if you have something to say, just spit it out and stop beating around the bush. No one can read your mind. Serenity pushed Zachary. Get up. Usually when I touch your face, you always look at me like I'm a pervert. What are you doing now? Who's taking advantage of whom here? Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 209. Zachary grabbed Serenity's hands and pinned them down next to her head. He swooped in for a kiss to seal her lips shut. The kiss was everything but gentle. He seemed to be venting his anger. Zachary forcibly bit Serenity. Serenity was agitated by his behavior and angrily bit his lips back until he was bleeding. Finally, Zachary let go of her when he felt the pain. While he was dumbstruck, Serenity quickly pushed him to the floor. She sprung up to retreat a few steps before looking at him defensively. Zachary got up slowly and wiped the blood from his lips. His expression was dismal. Zachary, what the hell is wrong with you? You went crazy after a few glasses of wine. Zachary stared at her gloomily. He said coldly, Serenity, let me ask you again. Were you really at your sister's house today? I was at my sister's house. Serenity suddenly stopped mid-sentence. Zachary sneered. What, you remember now? You and Sean were eating lunch at Grace's diner, talking and laughing. You even served him some dishes. You two look intimate, more like a married couple than the two of us are. Serenity, I told you that you can't cheat on me during the period of our contracted marriage. You should have behaved yourself. My patience is limited. The next time this happens again, don't blame me for being rude to you. Serenity finally understood. No wonder Zachary went crazy. It turned out that he saw her having lunch with Sean. Zachary was also of the mind that Serenity wanted Sean to be her next boyfriend, so he doubted her and wanted to take revenge on her. Usually, Zachary stayed away from Serenity like she was a pervert, but tonight It turned out that his male ego was acting up. Serenity touched her lips. The spot where he bit her was still hurting. You saw me and Sean having lunch? Zachary said nothing. Didn't you see Jasmine was there too? Why are you being paranoid to assume that about Sean and I? We grew up together and I have always treated him as a younger brother. What's wrong with me serving him a few of his favorite dishes? I've known Sean for more than 10 years, so we do talk and laugh when we're together. After all, we've been good friends for more than a decade. I grew up with him, and he treats me as a sister, so being with him definitely makes me feel happier and more at ease than I am with you. And how long have I known you? It's only been a month. Even if we're husband and wife, it's only on paper. How can you compare to him? Zachary, I've told you that I won't look for another boyfriend. Sean and I did nothing immoral, and it's up to you to believe it or not. I don't need to keep explaining myself to you. As you said, as long as I don't cheat on you, we won't interfere in each other's private affairs. After Serenity explained herself, she turned around and left. She did not want to deal with this egomaniac. Zachary interrogated her without clarifying and suspected that she cheated on him. He even took revenge on her and kissed her forcibly because of his male ego. After getting along for a month, how did she not notice that he had such a bad side? Even when Zachary was a little grim on his usual days, he was still a polite gentleman. When Serenity encountered difficulties, Zachary would also help her to solve those problems. Zachary exposed his bad side right when Serenity changed her mind about him and considered whether she should try harder to build a relationship with him as husband and wife. Tonight's incident would make her rethink her idea. Forget it. She did not want to think about him anymore. They were just a married couple on paper who lived together. When the time was up, they would go their separate ways. Bang! Serenity slammed the door shut, expressing her anger at Zachary. Zachary turned around and saw the glass of honey water. In a fit of rage, he swept the glass of honey water to the floor. The glass shattered. Serenity heard the commotion from her room but did not go out to check on him. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 210, Serenity could not care less even if Zachary smashed everything at home, since the house belonged to him anyway. He would be the one suffering if his house was wrecked. Zachary swept aside the glass of honey water and went into his room. He then rushed into the bathroom to draw a bath of cold water to sober himself up from the chill. He drank heavily today, but he was not completely drunk. He was still aware of his actions, but he was easily agitated after drinking too much. Serenity turned off the lights in the hall later to save on the electricity bills. That night, Zachary and Serenity tossed and turned around in bed. Neither of them could sleep because they were mad at each other. Serenity was angry at Zachary for questioning her. Zachary was mad that Serenity was with Sean. He firmly believed what he saw was the truth. She said that she and Sean had known each other for more than 10 years and that she grew up with Sean. She and Jasmine were good friends, and Sean was Jasmine's cousin, so Zachary believed that she and Sean had known each other for more than 10 years. She also mentioned that she treated Sean as her younger brother, but Sean was not her biological brother. Furthermore, Sean looked at Serenity with such deep affection. Sean loved her. Was Serenity truly oblivious to it, or was she feigning ignorance? Zachary was still frustrated. The next day was a Sunday, but Serenity went to the store early in the morning. The store would usually be closed on weekends. Since Serenity and Zachary quarreled, Serenity was in a bad mood and did not want to look at Zachary's grim and stern face, so she went to the store early. She would rather be making crafts all day in the store than be at home. Sitting in her foul mood, Serenity did not leave breakfast for Zachary. She only cooked her own portion that day. When Zachary woke up with an empty stomach, it was already past 10 o'clock in the morning. After getting dressed, Zachary stayed in his room quietly for a long time before he came out. He thought, "This is my house. Why should I be afraid of Serenity?" When he walked out of the room, he did not see Serenity anywhere. The whole house was quiet. The glass he broke last night was not cleaned up either. The honey water that splashed on the floor attracted a lot of ants too. Zachary had no idea where these many ants came from. They were densely packed all over the puddle of honey water. He first went to the kitchen to have a look, but neither did he see Serenity nor anything to eat. Serenity was not on the balcony either. That was when he knew she went out. Perhaps she went to see Sean again. Zachary's expression turned gloomy and cold. Serenity ignored him, and he would do the same to her. Zachary, who was still livid, brought out a broom to clean up the fragments of the broken glass and killed the pile of ants while he was at it. He then brought out a mop to wipe the floor. After doing all this, Zachary picked up his phone and car keys before heading out the door. As soon as he went out, he called his bodyguards and asked them to wait for him downstairs. "Sir." Seeing Zachary coming downstairs, the bodyguards went over to greet him. Zachary did not speak and went straight to his Rolls-Royce that was parked downstairs. After getting into the car, he instructed in a cold voice, "Send me back to Regent Residences." The driver responded respectfully and swiftly started the car engine. Sitting in the passenger seat, Jim turned to look at his boss. "Speak if you have something to say." Jim said hurriedly, "Sir, the missus went out very early this morning and hasn't returned since." Zachary looked indifferent and said coldly, "You don't need to tell me where she goes and what she does in the future." Jim was speechless. Did the boss and his wife get into a fight? Stranger Marriage, Chapter 211, Lingfei 211 Lingfei, Married at First Sight Regent Residences, was a high-class villa neighborhood in Wiltspoon. The residents were either rich or nobles. Before Zachary got his marriage license with Serenity, he lived here almost every day and only occasionally returned to the old residence to accompany his elders. The villa he lived in used to be made up of several small villas, but he demolished them and rebuilt a large villa when he bought the land. The large villa had both front and back gardens. Although it was not as large as the old residence, he lived alone, so it was spacious. Sam knew Zachary was coming back before he had anything to eat, so Sam told the kitchen to prepare lunch in advance. Zachary got up late and had brunch at one go. After he finished eating at a home he was familiar with, his bad mood improved marginally. He sat on the sofa and called Josh. Josh had not woken up yet. Yesterday, Duncan and he went drinking with Zachary. Zachary could hold his liquor, so he was not drunk. On the contrary, Josh got so drunk that he needed the hotel staff to take him home. Duncan's alcohol tolerance was better than Zachary's, so he was not the least bit drunk. However, he could not drive since he had alcohol, so he simply stayed in the hotel overnight. Josh's voice was slightly hoarse when he answered, "Morning, boss." Zachary was silent for a moment and asked, "It's not morning anymore. I just finished lunch." Josh was speechless. He moved the phone away from his ear and looked at the time. It was indeed already noon. It was no wonder his boss called him to wake him up. He felt a stomachache, but fortunately his head was not hurting. Otherwise, he would stay in bed all day. "What's up? Do you have plans this afternoon?" Josh shot up straight and once again moved the phone away from his ear. When he affirmed that the person he was talking to was indeed his boss and buddy Zachary, he laughed and asked, "The sun must have risen from the west today. Did you just ask me if I had plans? What? Don't you need to accompany your wife on Sundays?" Zachary's expression darkened, but Josh could not see it. Naturally, Zachary would not tell him about the fight he had with his wife. He said in a faint tone, "She always goes to her sister's place to look after her nephew whenever she's free. Either that, or she goes shopping with her friends. She doesn't need me to accompany her." Josh remembered how Serenity and her sister were dependent on each other, so he did not doubt Zachary. "I'll call Duncan to ask if he has plans and get back to you." "Sure." Zachary did not want to be alone. If he was, he would think about what happened last night. He thought, that could be considered a quarrel, right? We're also ignoring each other today. Is this a Cold War? Duncan proposed golfing and off the trio went. Serenity knitted her crafts in the store and did not go home all day. She even had all her meals in the store. When it was 8 in the evening, she closed up the shop and rode home on her e-bike. She took the Mankiniko and the golden dragon she promised to give to Zachary. He was angry because she gave Alyssa a Mankiniko before she gave it to him, so she gave him an additional dragon to appease him. Bringing the Mankiniko back home to him did not mean she was bowing to him. She simply felt that since she had already promised him, she had to give it to him quickly as she did not want to owe him. The house was empty when she returned. There was no figure in sight. Serenity placed the Mankiniko and the dragon on the coffee table before going out on the balcony to water the flowers and plants. Then, she sat on the swing and quietly looked out at the night scenery. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 212. As Serenity viewed the night sky, she gradually grew tired. She leaned back on the swing and thought of napping for a few minutes. Little did she know, she slept until 5 in the morning. It was almost dawn when she woke up. She had slept outside on the balcony the whole night. When she woke up, she knew Zachary had not returned last night. Otherwise, he would have woken her up. Although that man was cold and seemed to have a heart made of stone, he was kind to her. He gave her everything that she should have as his wife. Serenity got up from the swing and went into the hall to turn on the lights. The two handicrafts were still on the coffee table. She was silent for a moment before she went to Zachary's room. The door was locked. She did not have the keys, so she could not open the door. He most likely did not come home. It was Monday, a new week. Although Zachary did not return during the night, Serenity did not call him. He was still angry at her, so why should she approach him just to be rebuffed? Besides, she believed he would not answer the phone even if she called. Since Zachary was not home, Serenity did not have breakfast at home either. As the sun rose, she took the car keys and went downstairs, intending to eat a casual breakfast before fetching Sunny from Liberty's place, since Liberty would be job hunting today as well. When Serenity arrived at the parking lot downstairs, she saw Zachary's national MPV. She stopped and stared at the car. I remember that license plate. It's Zachary's car. Did he not drive out? After a long while, she took out her phone to send him a message. Serenity, are you going to work today? I saw your car was still parked downstairs. After sending the message, she lifted her foot and walked toward another car. Soon, she drove off. When she arrived at Liberty's house, she was surprised to see that her brother-in-law, Hank, was back. Serenity, you're here. Hank took the initiative to greet his sister-in-law. Serenity was stunned, but she greeted him back and asked, Are Liberty and Sunny awake yet? Your sister is preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Sunny isn't up yet. Serenity felt that Hank was rather polite to her upon his return. However, she never had anything to say to him, so she went straight into the kitchen. Hank went outside to the balcony for a smoke. In fact, he was avoiding his wife and sister-in-law so he could send a message to Jessica. Hank. Babe, don't eat breakfast yet. I'll go to Wiltspoon Hotel to buy a delicious breakfast for you later. It's better than the roadside stalls you usually eat at. Jessica. Thanks, honey. In that case, I'll wait at the office for the delicious and loving breakfast you're buying for me. Hank sent her a kiss emoji. Jessica, have you gone home? Hank, yeah, I bought this house and paid the mortgage. The house is mine. Why can't I live here? Jessica, is your wife's name written on the title deed of the house? Hank, no, I bought the house before getting married and didn't add her name. Add your name to it when we ray together in the future. He was completely devoted to Jessica. Jessica smiled happily. I know where Hank lives. The real estate there is costly. His house is worth several million, but he's willing to add my name to the deed. This is true love, right? Soon, she asked him another question. Jessica, Hank, did you make up with your wife when you got home? Did she apologize to you? Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 214. Liberty asked, Why don't you go after breakfast? No, I'll just get takeouts. I have an appointment at noon and won't be back for lunch. You can eat with Sunny. Seeing how Liberty was merely asking and did not hand him his coat and briefcase like before to send him off like a king, Hank was quite upset. He felt like Liberty was not serving him despite eating and living under his roof. His sister was good to her husband. It could be said that she treated her husband like he was a king. Furthermore, she had a job to earn money. Liberty doesn't do anything yet she doesn't treat me well either. No one can blame me for not loving her. She's just not qualified. Hank found a reason for his emotional infidelity. He went to get his suit jacket, briefcase, and car keys before saying to his son, Daddy is going to work now, Sonny. Bye-bye. He did not leave until his son waved at him. As soon as he left the house, he drove straight to Wiltspoon Hotel. Unexpectedly, Jessica was waiting for him there. Mr. Brown, Jessica wore a professional suit. Although she was young, she looked smart and competent. With delicate makeup, she looked several times prettier than the current Liberty. Why are you here? Didn't I tell you that I'd buy breakfast for you? Call me Hank when we're outside. I like it when you call me by my name. Hank got out of the car and walked toward his young lover. He reached out and took her by the shoulders, embracing her as they went into the hotel. Since you're here, let's eat at the hotel before going back to the office. Jessica smiled charmingly. I wanted to eat with you, so I rushed over to wait for you here. Are you surprised? Yep, Hank responded dotingly. Then he kissed Jessica's cheek. She blushed and pushed him away, whispering, "Behave, we're in public. If someone sees us and tells your wife, I'll become the disgraceful third party. Hank, you say that you love me. Can you bear to let me become a mistress?" Her goal was to become Hank's legal wife and replace Liberty as the lady of the house. Her family condition was not doing well, and Hank was the most exceptional man she knew. Her parents knew about their relationship, but she lied to her parents and told them that Hank was single. Her parents knew that Hank had a high salary and told her to hold on to him. They told her to marry him quickly, lest he was snatched away by other women. Hank kissed her again and comforted her. "How could I bear to let you suffer, my precious darling? Don't worry, I'll divorce Liberty. I'll divorce her immediately when my son starts preschool next year." Jessica pouted her red lips. "I have to wait till next year? Why don't I anonymously send some ambiguous photos to your wife and make her argue with you? Then you can take advantage of the situation to divorce her. But Hank, you can't divide the property with her. Make sure she leaves without a penny to her name." A vicious light flashed in Jessica's eyes as she spoke. Since she was the mistress, she was sure to go against the legal wife. She simply did not want Liberty to have a good time. Liberty had no means of income. Once she was forced to leave without a penny to her name, she would be even more miserable. What Jessica hated the most was how, even after Liberty left the company for many years, the old employees in the company always sang praises about her. Jessica wanted to make Liberty's life as wretched as possible. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 215. After marriage, she didn't go to work and had no income, so she relied on me to support her. Everything in the house was bought with my money. What qualifications does she have to split the assets with me? Hank said arrogantly. As long as I divorce her, she'll definitely leave without a penny to her name. She won't get anything from me. Previously, Liberty told him that if they divorced, she wanted the money used for renovation back from him. However, Hank told her that he would not give her a single penny. He had not divorced her because his son was still young and needed someone to take care of him. He simply thought of Liberty as a free nanny. This free nanny was absolutely dedicated to taking care of his son, so he did not have to worry about his son being abused by a random nanny. Jessica wanted to tell him that his savings were considered marital property. If Liberty sued him, she would be able to take half of the savings. Furthermore, if Liberty found out about the money that Hank had been spending on Jessica, she could sue for that as well, and Jessica would have to return the money and items to Liberty. Hank was a manager now and was well connected in the workplace. If he actually divorced Liberty in the future, she would not be able to beat him. Thus, Jessica did not speak OOE/SSCS her thoughts, lest Hank thought she was only after his money. Jessica was somewhat sincere to Hank. There were many executives in the company, but Hank was the youngest. He was only in his early 30s and took care of himself. Every day, he wore a suit and looked mature, calm, and handsome. Of course, the most important thing was that he had a high income. Her brother said that Hank's monthly salary was as much as his annual income. As long as she married Hank, she would be considered the person with the best spouse in the area her family lived in. At that moment, the hotel's security guards quickly ushered them to the side. Then, they saw a procession of tall men in black suits surrounding a man coming out of the hotel. The tall men blocked the sight of many people, and there were also bodyguards who opened up a path. Everyone knew that a big shot was coming out in the middle of the hotel, but only a few could clearly see who the man was. Hank and Jessica were also led aside by the guards. Before they could understand what was going on, the black-clad bodyguards had already stood in 2 files, allowing the man to walk out of the hotel. Hank was unsure if his eyes were playing tricks on him, but as he looked at the black-clad man walking out from afar, he felt the figure looked rather familiar. Unfortunately, he could not see the man clearly. There were too many bodyguards who were protecting the man, so Hank was only able to catch a glimpse of him before he went away. Who was that? I feel like he's a little familiar. I've definitely seen him before. Hank searched in his mind, but he did not manage to recall who that man was. Who was that? What a big entrance. That was so cool. Jessica's face was full of wonder. She was curious about the man who was escorted in the middle. The bodyguards were all tall and powerful. All of them wore suits with serious and cold expressions, and they were quite handsome too. Jessica felt as if she had just seen a male beauty pageant. Hank also wanted to know who the man was. a middle-aged man suddenly spoke to them. "Where do you think you are now? This is Wiltspoon Hotel, which is owned by York Corporation. Mr. York often comes here to eat. The man who just went out is Mr. York himself. In Wiltspoon, Mr. York is the only one who can make such a big exit." Mr. York's extravagance was mainly to prevent love-struck fools from approaching him. He did not allow young women to appear within 3 meters of him. That part of him was similar to Mr. Lafayette from Meadspring. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 216. When Hank heard that it was Mr. York, he was stunned and said, "No wonder it was such a big commotion. So, it was Mr. York. Oh, what a shame. If I had known that it was him, I would have squeezed to the front to get a glimpse of his handsome face." He heard that Mr. York was incredibly good-looking. The middle-aged man gave Hank a sidelong glance and laughed. "You don't look too shabby either, but compared to Mr. York, you can't hold a candle to him." Hank did not get angry either. "How would I dare to compare myself with Mr. York? The only one who can compare to him is probably Mr. Stone. I'm quite lucky to have encountered Mr. York today. I'll buy a lottery ticket later and see if I can hit the jackpot." The middle-aged man was amused by Hank's words. Jessica looked amazed. After the middle-aged man left, she took Hank's arm and walked to the hotel restaurant, saying, "Mr. York is a godlike figure in Wiltspoon. I wonder what kind of man he is and the lucky lady to have his heart." The York family was the richest family in Wiltspoon, and Mr. York was the head of this generation. He was in charge of the massive York Corporation and even had his own private business. He was definitely a highly desirable partner. Rumor had it that Mr. York still did not have a girlina. There were not many rumors about women who adore on him either, perhaps because ordinary people could not ever see Mr. York in the flesh. Since no one could see him, no one would be infatuated or fall in love with him. Oh, there was one person who was completely smitten with Mr. York, and that was Alyssa Stone, the darling daughter of the Stone family. Alyssa not only openly confessed to Mr. York, but also enthusiastically chased after him. Jessica thought, "WF, I had Alyssa's background and confidence, I would also chase after Mr. York." Felt that Mr. York's figure looked a little familiar earlier. "I just can't figure out where I saw him before," Hank voiced his thoughts. Jessica did not want to burst his bubble, but she had to tell him the truth. She said, "There's no way you've seen Mr. York before. York Corporation isn't one of our clients. Even if they were, people on our level won't be able to meet him. Besides, our company is a competitor TOA branch company of York Corporation. It was impossible for them to work together for the time being, unless their company changed their industry and stopped competing with York Corporation's branch company for business." Hank knew that with his status, he could not even meet Mr. York's administrative executive, Mr. Butcham, let alone Mr. Mama's Sa Kamam Mal York himself. It was said even among the staff of York Corporation, not even those who had worked there for years had seen Mr. York's true face. Just think that his figure looks a little familiar. Mr. York, Zachary York, isn't Serenity's husband's last name York? However, Hank quickly dismissed the idea. When they first met, he asked Zachary what relationship the latter had with the York family, but Zachary said that their families were relatives 500 years ago. In other words, he had nothing to do with Mr. York. Furthermore, Mr. York was the young master of the York family. How could he marry Serenity? Besides, Zachary drove a national MPV worth only at most $130,000. It did not match Mr. York's identity at all. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 217. Hank thought of the York family, and then his mind shifted to his sister-in-law's conditions. He felt like pigs would fly before Zachary was Mr. York. Serenity was indeed beautiful, but all her other aspects were far inferior to the Stone family's daughter. If Mr. York did not take a liking to someone like Alyssa, why would he fancy Serenity instead? After making comparisons, Hank automatically dismissed the idea, feeling that he was overthinking. There was no way the Zachary he knew was the young master of the York family. My eyes must be playing tricks on me. Come on, let's go have breakfast. Jessica was hoping that Hank could get acquainted with Mr. York. That way, if she followed Hank, she would be able to take advantage of that relationship to get to know Mr. York as well. Maybe she could even squeeze into that circle of high society. However, reality gave her a tight slap in the face. That was impossible. She had better not daydream. Seizing Hank's heart and making him divorce Liberty to marry her was already the best ending. Jessica stopped thinking about anything else. Zachary did not see Hank, but Jim did. Fortunately, Hank did not know the bodyguards around Zachary, but the bodyguards had to be familiar with the faces of the people around the misses. Thus, Jim recognized Hank. After getting into the car, he said to his boss, "Mr. Zachary, I think I just saw Mrs.'s brother-in-law in front of the hotel. I only caught a glimpse of him, so I can't be sure if it was really him, but the woman beside him was Mrs.'s sister. However, it's also possible that I was mistaken. That man was Mrs.'s brother-in-law. What Jim saw was the cruelest thing that could happen to a married woman, her husband having an affair." Zachary did not speak immediately. He was silent for a while before saying in a low voice, "I told you, her affairs have nothing to do with me." Jim opened his mouth, wanting to say something but had no idea what to say either. It was clear that Mr. Zachary and Mrs. were at odds. They seemed to be having a cold war. Mrs. did not take the initiative to call Mr. Zachary, and Mr. Zachary did not go back to stay in Brinfield. However, the bodyguards did not know why the couple was fighting, so they were helpless. Zachary fell into silence after he had spoken. Jim turned his head and peeked twice at Zachary to see him staring at his phone and looking at something. It was a message sent to him by Serenity. She saw his national MPV that he used to lie to her about being poor parked downstairs and asked if he was not working today. Zachary was in a dilemma. Should I reply? I spent the night at my own villa last night. I didn't go back to Brinfield. I thought she would ask about it. Even if she didn't call, I thought she would send a message. At least, so I waited until late at night. My phone did end up ringing a few times, but it was never from her. Zachary's pride stopped him from bowing to her. Since she did not care about him, he would not care about her either. His fingers moved, not to reply to her message, but to delete it instead. He also deleted her number from his contact list. Serenity never received a reply after sending Zachary that message, so she knew he was still angry. He was mad because he did not believe that she and Sean were innocent. She also did not send him any more messages. After Sunny had finished eating, she carried him and went out with her sister. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 218. Liberty continued her job hunt. Serenity took her nephew back to the store. Jasmine loved Sunny, and she was the one who played with him the most, letting Serenity focus on her crafts. She was going to make some retro headwear to sell online and see how the sales go. If it went well, she would open another online store. Ever since e-commerce became a thing, business at brick-and-mortar stores took a plunge. If the online store could make money, Serenity would happily open another online store. When it was noon, Jasmine asked her friend, "Saren, are you still going to pick up your husband for lunch today? I have some fresh seafood over at home. Let's have a seafood feast for lunch. If Mr. York wants to join us, I'll prepare more portions." Jasmine asked before she started to cook, lest she prepared too little for everyone to eat. "Even if I call him, he won't come anyway. Jasmine, I think I'm having a cold war with Zachary." Serenity finished making a miniature tree that a customer ordered and called it a day for now. Jasmine asked in concern, "How did that happen? Haven't you been getting along quite well recently, Mr. York? Even had someone from Wiltspoon Hotel bring you a meal because he wanted you to eat well." Serenity sighed and said, "It was because I invited you and Sean for lunch last Saturday. I didn't see him, but he might have seen me. He insisted that I was treating Sean as my backup partner and that Jay was cuckolding him. I was really pissed off. Sean and I are like siblings. I've always thought of him as my younger brother. How can take him as a backup partner? If I really liked him, I would have gone to him when I was looking for a man to marry to get out of my sister's house. Why would I go to Zachary instead? He usually looks generous, but he's so narrow-minded. Not only is he petty, but he's also suspicious and says nasty things. He accused me of cheating on him before he checked the facts. Isn't he just saying that I'm a loose woman?" She did not mention that Zachary also forcefully kissed her when he was drunk. Jasmine said after a pause, "Did he see the three of us eating together? Why didn't he come to say hello to us? Also, I was sitting right there too. Didn't he see me? Did he only see Sean and you?" I said the same thing. I told him that you were around too, and I was just eating with my friends. Jasmine thought about it and her expression changed. She asked tentatively, "Saren, does Mr. York suspect that I'm the matchmaker?" Serenity was speckless. With Zachary's suspicious nature, there's a very real possibility that he thought Jasmine was matchmaking Sean and I, or even covering for me. Jasmine felt upset. She never thought of matching her friend with Sean. That was because Serenity was 3 years older than Sean, and Serenity did not like having a partner that was younger than she is. Sean also clearly thought of Serenity as an older sister. Their relationship was strictly familial. "Saren, you have to explain it to Mr. York so he doesn't think that I'm trying to matchmake you. I'm innocent." More importantly, it would affect her friend's marriage with Mr. York. Although the two only married out of convenience and had no emotional foundation, they had gotten their license for a month. They should have at least developed some feelings by now. Jasmine hoped that her good friend and Zachary could be loving like a normal husband and wife and live together for the rest of their lives. She never thought of introducing her friend to other men. T tried, but he only believed what he saw. "He didn't come home last night. I sent him a message this morning, but he didn't reply either. I think this is what people mean by a Cold War." Serenity sighed. She did not know what to do when a couple was having a Cold War. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 219. Maybe he hasn't seen your message. Why don't you send him another one? Serenity was silent for a moment. Then, she picked up her phone, tapped on WhatsApp, and sent another message to Zachary. "Serenity, do you want to have lunch together?" When she sent the message, she received a system notification stating that Zachary had not added her as contact and could not receive her message. There was a prompt for her to add him as a friend. Serenity stared at the few lines of words. "We're not friends. That cheapskate actually deleted my contact again. This is the second time he deleted me. The first time was when we first got our license. He turned around and forgot about me, his new wife, for 9 days, so he deleted me. However, I could understand because we weren't close to each other back then. Now that he deleted me again, it means that he's convinced that I did him wrong. He's completely set on the idea that I found a backup partner, so he deleted my contact." At first, Serenity thought of giving in and reaching out to him. They could solve any problems face to face. However, this was what Zachary did instead. Serenity was simply furious. "They haven't even blocked him yet, but he deleted me first." "Fine then, so be it." In a rage, she also deleted Zachary from her contact list. She also blocked his number. She was livid. "Saren, you don't look too good. Did Mr. York reply?" Serenity stuffed her phone back into the pocket of her trousers and said coldly, "Ignore him. Just cook for the both of us. It's his business whether he eats or not. He won't starve anyway." Jasmine looked at her. Serenity explained grumpily, "He deleted me on WhatsApp, so I deleted him too and blocked his number in a fit of anger. Don't mention him in front of me in the future. Jas, you'd better find a reliable man and date him for a few years before getting married. Don't be like me. I married a drama king who gets offended at anything I do despite my best efforts." Jasmine was speechless. Serenity got up and walked around the checkout counter, then picked up her nephew and said to her friend, "I'm not in a good mood. I'll take Sonny to the mall and swipe the card he gave me for living expenses until it maxes out." Jasmine nodded quickly. "Go ahead, PLL cook." Serenity carried Sonny out of the shop. After putting her nephew in the car, she drove off. She deliberately chose the largest shopping mall in the city. When she went in, she chose the most expensive things to buy. Her shopping cart was already piled high before she finished going through the mall. She wanted to grab another cart to continue splurging, but when she considered that she could not carry so many things while bringing a baby with her, she finally gave up. Even so, the line of numbers displayed on the register almost made her want to return all the goods. However, when she remembered how Zachary deleted her contact, she gritted her teeth and swiped the card. Since the card she used was one that Zachary gave her for home expenses, his phone would receive a notification of the expenditure. Zachary was in a meeting. There were many people in the conference room, but everyone's phone was muted. Only Zachary's phone could ring. When he received the notification, he picked up the phone from the desk and tapped on the message to look at it. Josh, who was the closest to him, noticed his boss's sharp eyebrows rise. However, his expression was still unchanged. He put down the phone and continued the meeting. Serenity had just spent a few $1,000s. The amount was less than 5 figures, so he did not even bother to. However, in his heart, he could not help but wonder what she bought to have spent a few thousand at once. That amount was chump change to Zachary. Lingfei, married at first sight. Stranger marriage, Chapter 220. Serenity had been careful in spending money. Unless she was buying large pieces of furniture, she would spend no more than $200 a day. As time passed, Zachary did not bother to guess. Since he had given her the money, she was free to spend it. He was angry at her and deleted her from his WhatsApp. But he did not want to take back the money he gave her to spend. Anyhow, he would bear with her until the agreement expired. He would not breach the contract prematurely, since he would have to compensate her with a large number of liquidated damages. 10 minutes later, his phone received another expenditure notification. This time, the total was more than $20,000. Of course, this bit of money was nothing for Mr. York. He just wanted to know why the woman was suddenly spending so much money. Was she buying gold? Or did she get angry after she found out that he deleted her, so she deliberately went shopping to spend his money? Sure enough, Zachary was good at guessing. He was right. There were still 10 minutes before the office hours were over, but the meeting had come to an end, so Zachary simply adjourned. In the past, he was always the first to leave the conference room after the meeting. The senior management would then follow him out. This time, Zachary sat in his seat, looking at something on his cell phone. He did not take the lead. In leaving the conference room this time, the others looked at each other. No one dared to be the first to stand up and leave. After a while, Zachary finally noticed something was off. He looked up and asked in a low voice, "Don't you want to get off work?" The others thought, "We do, but we don't dare to move." In the end, it was Callum who took the lead to leave the room. Callum was the second to Zachary in the York family. Since he had taken the lead, the senior management grew bold enough to hurry out of the conference room one after another. Josh did not leave. Since he was Zachary's administrative executive, he was seated the closest to Zachary in every meeting. The others might not notice Zachary's change, but he did. When they were the only ones left in the conference room, he asked with concern, "Boss, what's wrong with you?" Zachary put down his phone again and leaned back. He stared at Josh for a long time before saying, "I fought with Serenity." "Why?" Before Zachary could answer, Josh continued, "One felt something was up. With you, your mood changed after lunch on Saturday. Are you finally admitting that you fought with Serenity? Tell me the reason and I'll try to analyze it for you." "What's there to analyze? I saw her eating with another man with my own eyes. I saw her smiling and giving that man food. Even if I'm only her husband in name, she does even treat me that well." Josh asked, "She's having an affair?" "TT's an emotional affair." Josh opened his mouth to say something, but for a moment, he did not know what to say to comfort his boss and best friend. Whether it was a man or a woman, they would be furious if they found out that their significant other was cheating on them. It was natural to act impulsively. Zachary was a prideful person. He was used to being high above and dominating everything. More than that, he was used to everyone bowing to him. Now that Serenity betrayed him, even if it was just an emotional affair, it was a great blow to Zachary. The main point was that Zachary's ego could not take it. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 221, Lingfei 221. Wait, even if you saw Serenity eating with another man and giving him food, who was he? Did you check properly? What if he's a relative? Zachary's face was gloomy. "Sean Lowe." "Who's Sean?" "Oh, I know. He's the son of Mr. Lowe from Lowe Enterprise. He's working in Lowe Enterprise now to build experience. Let me think." The maiden name of Sean's mother is Socks, and your wife's best friend's last name is also Socks. Zachary said directly, "Sean is Jasmine Socks's cousin." Yes, they're cousins. Serenity and Jasmine are best friends, so she must have known Sean for a long time. She's a few years older than Sean, right? Maybe she just thinks of him as a younger brother. They don't have any blood relation at all. Even if she thinks of him as a brother, he's not her brother. Josh choked. Yeah, even if she says she only thinks of him as a brother, they're not connected by blood, so there's no way he can be her brother. After a moment of silence, Zachary said, "Sean is secretly in love with Serenity." Josh asked, "How do you know?" "I'm Ammon, my intuition tells me that Sean likes Serenity, and it's not a crush that he has had for just a few days. They could solve any problems face to face. However, this was what Zachary did instead. Serenity was simply furious. They haven't even blocked him yet, but he deleted me first. Fine then, so be it. In a rage, she also deleted Zachary from her contact list. She also blocked his number. She was livid. Saren, you don't look too good. Did Mr. York reply? Serenity stuffed her phone back into the pocket of her trousers and said coldly, ignore him. Just cook for the both of us. It's his business whether he eats or not. He won't starve anyway. Jasmine looked at her. Serenity explained grumpily, he deleted me on WhatsApp, so I deleted him too. And blocked his number in a fit of anger. Don't mention him in front of me in the future. Jas, you'd better find a reliable man and date him for a few years before getting married. Don't be like me. I married a drama king who gets offended at anything I do despite my best efforts. Jasmine was speechless. Serenity got up and walked around the checkout counter, then picked up her nephew and said to her friend, I'm not in a good mood. I'll take Sonny to the mall and swipe the card he gave me for living expenses until it maxes out. She easily took down the Zachary York and made his heart flutter. Zachary's expression was dark. He picked up his phone, got up, and walked away. When he walked to the door of the conference room, he turned his head and said coldly, I'll never get jealous. Josh laughed. There's no way I'd believe that. You're clearly jealous. I can see it written all over your face. You're just stubborn and refuse to admit it. Of course, Josh also understood why Zachary was not willing to admit that he was jealous. After all, Zachary and Serenity got married out of convenience. He did it to return a favor to his grandmother. He was haughty and had high expectations. He was not the kind to be easily moved. It was tough for him to admit that he had started to care for Serenity in just a month's time. He could not put aside his ego. His damned pride and arrogance were preventing him from admitting it. After Zachary came out of the conference room, he did not immediately leave the building but went back to his office instead. His mood improved slightly after chatting with his friend. In his heart, he also understood that he was unreasonable for assuming Serenity was cheating on him just because she ate with Sean and gave him food. However, he still felt inexplicably angry. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 222, Could Josh be right? Am I really jealous? How can that be? Zachary sat down in the black swivel chair and took out his phone again. He was lost in thoughts for a long time. Then, he decided to put his ego aside and reply to Serenity's message. When he opened WhatsApp, he recalled that he deleted her from his contacts. Fortunately, he still remembered her phone number. After another few moments of deliberation, he finally mustered the courage to call her. Sorry, the number you have dialed is not available. Zachary was speechless. Did Serenity turn off her phone, or did she block me? He immediately used the landline to call her. It rang, but he hung up before she could answer. That was because he was now sure that she blocked his cell phone number. Zachary, who put down his ego and wanted to mend his relationship with his wife, was immediately sent back to square one after Serenity blocked his number. I deleted her first, and she blocked me in return. Fine, we're even. Let's leave it at that. Zachary did not try to contact Serenity again. He got up, walked out of the office, and left the building while surrounded by his bodyguards. He went to Wiltspoon Hotel for dinner. As for the little lady who went on retail therapy to soothe her anger, she went to a shop selling gold and spent another tens of thousands before her wrath was extinguished. Back at the bookstore, Liberty had already returned from job hunting. From her expression, Serenity knew that today was not a successful day either. Serenity did not dare to bring out the tens of thousands worth of goods she bought lest her sister saw them and scolded her. So she left them in the car. Jasmine was also not a talkative person. Without Serenity's consent, she did not tell Liberty about the young couple's misunderstanding and the Cold War. When Liberty saw her sister getting out of the car with her son, but her brother-in-law was nowhere to be seen, she asked casually, I thought you went to pick Zachary up for lunch together. T went to his office, but he's not free this afternoon. He's having lunch with a client, Serenity lied. Liberty did not suspect her at all. After the meal, Liberty took a short break in the store before continuing to look for jobs in the afternoon. Serenity, who had spent tens of thousands of Zachary's money, was also in a calmer mood. She remembered that when she got the marriage license, she was just looking for someone to live with. The couple did not love each other, so why should she care what he thought of her? As long as he did not file for divorce, they would just go on living without getting in each other's way. After figuring that out, Serenity's mood improved enough to continue making her crafts. In the evening, After Liberty had dinner at the store with Sunny, she politely refused to be seen off by Serenity and took a ride. Home by themselves. Jasmine had to go out in the evening, so Serenity had to watch the store. Since Liberty insisted not to be seen off, Serenity called a taxi for her sister and watched the mother and son get into the car. Then, she went back to the store to keep watch. When it was 11 at night, she closed the shop as usual and went home. She had just driven away from the entrance of Wiltspoon School and entered the main road when she almost hit a Land Rover. She was caught by surprise, and that caused her to slam on the brakes urgently to avoid crashing into it. After the Land Rover drove past, she continued driving. This scene was witnessed by Zachary, who was slowly following from behind. He was currently sitting in his car. Serenity felt that the car was familiar and thought it was the same Rolls-Royce from her neighborhood. Serenity's car was bought for her by Zachary. He had a good memory and could naturally recognize his wife's car. However, he did not say anything and simply instructed the driver, "Slow down, don't overtake the car in front." The driver did not know the reason, but Jim did. He explained to the driver in a soft voice, "The car in front belongs to the missus." Stranger Marriage, Chapter 223, the driver turned his head to look at Zachary in the backseat. When he saw Zachary's cold expression, he quickly turned his head around and eyes back on the road. He was careful with the speed of the car, following the missus' car from a decent distance. Jim thought of the most important question and turned to ask Zachary, "Mr. Zachary, where are you returning tonight?" Mr. Zachary stayed in Regent Residences yesterday, but he's following Mrs. today. Is he going back to Brinfield? Zachary was silent. After a while, he said, "Go back to Regent Residences, but..." He looked at the familiar car in front of him without saying a word. They silently escorted Serenity's car back to Brinfield before he returned to his villa. Jim was a smart man and instantly saw through Zachary's thoughts, so he told the driver the details. Serenity knew that there was a car following her, which was Zachary's, but Wiltspoon was a big city, so there were many cars on the road even late at night. However, even if she saw luxury cars, she would not know that they belonged to Zachary. When she reached a traffic light intersection, 7 or 8 youths standing by the roadside suddenly rushed out and Serenity slammed on the brakes. CCC, it a-tatled SS just as she was about to hit them. The car stopped in time. She broke out in a cold sweat and took a while to come back to her senses. Knock, knock. One of the youths tapped on her car window. Serenity thought she had hit one of them after all. She quickly wound down the window, only to see the face of her youngest cousin. "It's you." She frowned. "Do you have a death wish? Do you know what would have happened if didn't break in time? If you want to die, please go somewhere far away. Don't dirty my wheels." Her youngest cousin, Noah Hunt, was only a teenager. He was at an age where rebellion and ignorance were at their peaks. Last time, her cousins went to her store to talk about reconciliation. Noah was particularly arrogant and said that he would smash up her store. However, tonight, he brought a group of youngsters of around the same age as he was to block her car. Were they trying to cause trouble? "So what if it's me? Get out of the car, Serenity. If you don't, I'll smash your car. You have money to buy a new car. But you won't help Grandmom pay her medical bills. Do you know how much she spent on her hospitalization?" Noah was young and exuberant. He did not know much about the past. He only knew that after his grandmother got sick, this cousin of his never visited the old woman in the hospital and refused to pay for the medical bills. His parents said that Serenity and her sister should have paid the money for Grandmom's treatment. Liberty had no money, but Serenity did. Look, she even bought a new car that was worth more than $100,000. She was rich enough to buy a car, but she refused to help his grandmother pay for medical expenses. When his brothers wrote a blog post accusing Serenity, she spouted nonsense and purposefully misled public scrutiny, causing the ignorant netizens to accuse them instead. That caused his eldest brother's business to drop, and his second brother was suspended from work. Even his parents' and other brothers' jobs were affected. Noah was furious. When they took the initiative to reconcile with Serenity, she refused to forgive them. He wanted to smash her bookstore that day, but was stopped by his cousins. In the past few days, he heard his parents muttering about the need to get a sum of money to pay for his grandmother's medical bills. They complained that it would cost a lot of money to treat her. When Noah remembered that all this was caused by Serenity's unwillingness to pay, he gathered a bunch of his friends. They loitered around her bookstore during the day and memorized her car license plate number. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 224. They then waited until late at night when there were only a few cars on the road. They waited by the road for Serenity to pass by and stop her car. How much money she spent has nothing to do with me. Back then, when she used money to cut off our ties as grandparents and grandchildren, she said we neither had to take care of her when she was alive nor bury her when she died. You weren't old enough to remember that. If you don't know what happened that year, look back at the online post I made or ask your parents about it. However, your parents probably won't admit it. The money the Hunt family is spending was the compensation money my parents gave with their lives. Otherwise, how could they live such happy lives now? Serenity's expression was icy cold as she retorted to Noah. Don't care. Get out of the car. I'll give you until the count of 3. If you don't get out, I'll smash your car. Noah was extremely arrogant since he had numbers on his side. The punks he brought with him had surrounded Serenity's car. There were also vehicles slowly approaching from behind. Noah and his party were young and energetic, thinking that people generally did not dare to meddle in other people's business in this day and age. Thus, they did not pay attention to the cars that were slowly approaching. Serenity took the opportunity to pick up the iron bar that slipped from Noah's hands. Then, she waved it and beat up Noah's companions. All of them ended up wailing on the ground. As Noah howled while still on his bums, he shouted arrogantly, "I'm going to sue you for intentional injury. I'll tell the police to arrest you and make you pay for our medical expenses." Serenity stepped forward and on her little cousin's face. She looked down on him from above and said with a sneer, "I'm acting in self-defense, so go ahead. I'd like to see who gets arrested in the end. Do you have evidence to prove that you were defending yourself?" Serenity released her foot, squatted down, and pulled her youngest cousin's ear. "Noah Hunt, you don't even know what a dashcam is. All those haughty words you used to threaten me earlier were recorded. You were the one who made the first move too. Also, look over there. There's a surveillance camera as well." Noah was speechless. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 225. Noah miscalculated. He chose the wrong place. This was near a traffic light intersection, so there was surveillance everywhere. It was true that they started the fight and Serenity was only acting in self-defense. Noah thought it would be easy to deal with Serenity if he came with a group of 7 or 8 men. As she was a weak woman, unexpectedly she knew how to fight. His family never told him that she knew the art of self-defense. "What do you want?" Noah tried to save his ear, but Serenity pulled harder. He screamed in pain and cursed, "Let go, my parents won't forgive you if you rip my ear off. Call me sis." "Bah, you're not my sister." "Yeah, I'm not your sister. I don't have a cousin like you." Serenity tugged harder and Noah wailed in pain. His companions had long been frightened by her fighting skills when they were defeated by her. Seeing her abusing Noah's ear, they quietly retreated. "Stop right there, all of you." Serenity's bellow made the punks freeze in their tracks. All of them had bitter expressions. "Ms. Hunt, we were blind and offended you. We were wrong. We were hired by Noah. It's Noah's fault. Miss, please have mercy and let us go." The punks spoke to her politely. Noah was speechless. "Those spineless things? Ow, my ear hurts. Is this damned woman going to rip my ear off?" "Serenity, sis, stop pulling. Stop pulling, I'll call you sis, okay?" Noah wanted to cry. Serenity let go of his ear and patted his face twice before asking with a vague smile, "Am I your sister?" Yes, we have the same grandparents and our fathers are brothers, so we're close cousins." Noah could not win against Serenity and fell into her hands instead. His bravado only lasted for a minute before he crumbled. He even played the family card. Serenity stood up and saw the cars behind her that were parked 100 meters away. She did not know if they were there because they were afraid of inviting trouble or simply watching the show. But she did not care. She took out her phone and called the police. Noah and the others panicked when they saw her call the police. Noah endured the pain and went on his knees, hugging one of Serenity's legs with both hands. "Sis, we were just messing around, sis. Don't call the police. You don't have to call the police. We'll apologize to you." Serenity looked down and asked sarcastically, "I thought you said you wanted to call the police to arrest me, And that you wanted me to pay for your medical fees. I'm calling the police for you, so you should thank me." Noah was speechless. He was not good at studying, but even so, he knew. They were in the wrong. Serenity was acting in self-defense. However, they were not strong enough and could not beat her. If she called the police, they might be detained. Serenity kicked Noah away and called the cops anyway. "Noah is too young and is already used to being arrogant, so I'm reporting him to the police to teach him a lesson, lest he gets into bigger trouble in the future. I'm saving him since we have blood relations. No need to thank me." When Noah saw Serenity calling the police while disregarding their familial relationship, he yelled at her, "My parents said you were cold-hearted and ruthless. It seems to be true. They're not wrong about you." Stranger Marriage, Chapter 226. Yeah, I'm cold-hearted and ruthless, but are you righteous and loyal? You didn't know how your parents and the others treated me before, but do you still not know now? Do you think I'll let it go just because it's in the past? I'll never forget what they did to me for the rest of my life. Noah opened his mouth, but he was unable to refute it. In the end, he stood up, turned around, and ran. Serenity went after him and swept him to the ground with a single kick. Then, she grabbed his shirt roughly and dragged him back, causing him to scream in pain again as his skin grazed the ground. After throwing him at the group of punks, she warned them, "I advise you to stay here obediently and wait for the police to rescue you. If anyone dares to run, don't blame me for being impolite." The punks were frightened by Serenity's ferocity. No one dared to run again. Noah kept cursing at Serenity, and she warned him with a dark expression, "One more word out of you and I'll beat you till your face swells up like a balloon." Noah was terrified and he instantly fell silent, not daring to curse at her anymore. However, he cursed at her ancestors in his heart. Serenity's ancestors were also Noah's ancestors. Their ancestors must be rolling in their graves. They could not be SS, CSSC, SCNC, ISNNRHKNNSNSNWNS #N, seek #SN #WIV wait. To welcome the descendant who was cursing at them. Zachary saw that Serenity had the complete upper hand. He did not even have the chance to save the damsel in distress. Of course, even if Serenity was in danger, he would not show up. At most, he would arrange for bodyguards other than Jim to go and help her beat the thugs up. He knew Serenity learned mixed martial arts before, but he was not aware of her skills. "To think I was worried about her just now. Those punks couldn't even touch her." "Drive," Zachary commanded in a low voice. "Jim, don't let her see you." Jim had sent him home twice, so Serenity remembered how he looked. Thus, he could not let her see Jim. The driver started driving again. In order to prevent Serenity from recognizing him, Jim turned his head and looked at the other side of the road before turning back only when they had passed by Serenity. The driver drove much faster now, so Zachary's car sped past before Serenity could see anything clearly. Furthermore, she was not familiar with the bodyguards' cars that followed behind. Shortly after Zachary's motorcade passed, the cops arrived. After a little interrogation, the policemen sympathetically picked up those thugs on the ground and led them to the patrol car. They blocked the road and threatened to assault Serenity, but they were beaten up instead. Serenity had to follow them to the station to make a statement. With footage from the dashcam and traffic monitoring, the thugs were on their best behavior when they arrived at the station and confessed to everything. Serenity was the victim, but she learned mixed martial arts and knew how to defend herself, so she did not get hurt. Thus, she only acted in self-defense. After making the statement, she could leave. As for Noah and the others, they could not leave and were detained. Even though Noah mentioned that Serenity and he were cousins and it was just a family conflict, he was still detained because Serenity refused to forgive him. Noah thought, "I wanted to get revenge on Serenity, but I ended up in a cell instead." Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 227. When Serenity got home, it was already 1 in the morning. The house was dark when she pushed the door open. Either Zachary did not come back or he was in his room. Serenity silently closed the door, locked it, and turned on the lights in the hall. After a minute of silence, she went to Zachary's room. She was just about to raise her hand to knock on the door before she remembered that it was already late at night, and Nana had mentioned that Zachary would be furious if he was awakened before his natural body clock woke him up. She dismissed the idea of knocking on the door. So what if he was at home? They were having a cold war. She finally turned around and went into her room. The night passed without a word. The next morning, Serenity was catching up on her sleep because she went to bed too late last night. Zachary, who went back to Regent Residences, woke up as usual. He changed into sportswear and prepared to go out for a morning run. When he went downstairs, Sam told him, "Mr. Zachary, old Mrs. York is here." Zachary's expression sank slightly at the words. Without stopping his feet, he walked out of the main house at a steady pace and saw his Nana stepping out of the car. Although he did not like his Nana's sudden intrusion into his life, he quickly walked over to help her. The old lady did not refuse his thoughtfulness. Seeing his sportswear, she asked him, "Going for a morning run?" "Yeah, Grandma will run a few laps with you." Zachary frowned. "Nana, you getting old. I'm still as healthy as a horse." Zachary was helpless. Since his grandmother insisted on running with him, he had to give in. The pair walked out of the villa together and jogged on the cement track in the neighborhood. Although the woman was old, she was in the pink of health. When she was at home, she sometimes worked in the fields together with the workers. She was an old lady who never put on airs, and all the workers in York Manor adored her. "You were living well in Brinfield. Why did you move back again?" In fact, old Mrs. York came over because she received news that there was a problem between her eldest grandson and Serenity. However, she did not know what the problem was. Callum only mentioned that Zachary had been a bit distracted lately. She heard from Sam that Zachary moved back to the villa. She was hoping that sparks would fly between the newlyweds and wanted them to become a real couple, so she rushed over to see if she could mediate the young couple's conflict. "I'm more used to living here." This large villa was bought by Zachary after he became an adult, and he had been living in it ever since. Apart from the old residence, this place was his second home. As for the other villas under his name, he would stay there when there was a need. Most of the time, he would return to Regent Residences. "Did you fight with Serenity?" The old lady asked her eldest grandson, who was beside her, as she slowed down to a walk. Zachary said indifferently, "I'm Ammon of class, I won't bicker with her." He refused to admit that he had lost his manners that night and forcibly kissed Serenity. Never in his dreams would he make such a vile move. Thinking back on it now, he wanted to give himself a slap on the face. Where did his upbringing go? Where did his manners go? Was his composure eaten by a dog? Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 228. What did Serenity do to keep you from going back to Brinfield? Nothing. Zach, I watched you grow up. In this family, the person who knows you best is me. If nothing happened between you two, you wouldn't have come back here to stay. What exactly did Serenity do? It's fine even if you don't want to tell me. I can find out when I go to her shop later and ask her. Zachary stopped and looked at his grandmother, feeling a little angry. "Nana, we agreed that you won't interfere in anything after I get married to Serenity." "I'm not interfering. I'm just concerned and want to know what happened to you too. You're proud and egotistical, but you pretend to be poor and marry Serenity. She doesn't know your true identity at all. Even if you're wrong, you won't easily bow your head and apologize. When it has come to this point, you need me to be the mediator to help you ease your frozen relationship." Old Mrs. York indeed promised Zachary that she would not interfere in the married couple's lives after he married Serenity. However, she kept an eye on the young couple's every move. She knew everything, from how the young couple forgot about each other in the beginning, to how they got along, and how Zachary gradually came to care about Serenity. She even patted herself on the back, praising herself for her good eyesight. The young couple had developed as per her expectations. Surprisingly, the couple separated before she could feel sin about it. The old lady was anxious. She was still waiting to hold a great-grandchild. "It's just a little misunderstanding. It's not a big problem, so you don't have to worry. You don't need to ask Serenity either. I'll go back to Brinfield in a few days." Zachary remained reluctant in telling her the real reason. After the talk with Josh, Zachary vaguely felt that he had acted out of jealousy. Josh also said that he was starting to care about Serenity. However, he refused to admit it and could not put down his ego. Just because Serenity ate with Sean, he suspected her of cheating on him, so he felt humiliated. In reality, they got married in secret, so not many people knew they were husband and wife. Putting aside whether Serenity and Sean were Innocent, and even if they did Zachary wrong, outsiders were not aware of his relationship with Serenity, so how would he be humiliated? He got angry, questioned Serenity, and only believed what he saw with his own eyes because he developed a desire to control her. He had a domineering nature. Once he started to care about a woman, he would not want to see her eating with other men even if her best friend was present. He wanted Serenity's thoughtfulness and bright smile to belong to him only, but she was not aware of this. He was stubborn and refused to admit his mistake, so the couple ended up in this situation. They deleted and blocked each other's contacts, lived separately, and were now in a cold war. Are you sure there's no problem? Yes. Old Mrs. York laughed. Fine, I believe you. Since you say there's no problem, then there's no problem, even if I go find my granddaughter-in-law, won't ask her so as to save you some dignity. Zachary's handsome face was slightly embarrassed, but he said stubbornly in a low voice, I don't need you to help me save my dignity. She smiled and patted her grandson's shoulder. Zach, you're a man, so you must be able to give and take. Besides, you and Serenity are husband and wife. You'll be spending the rest of your lives together. Is there any hurdle out there that is impossible to overcome? Zachary was silent for a moment before saying, I signed a 6-month agreement with Serenity. If we don't fall in love with each other within these 6 months, we'll get a divorce. You don't have to think that she got the short end of the stick. Didn't touch her, so she's still pure. At most, he would kiss her once or twice when she teased him, and he could not stand it. He only forcefully kissed her once that night. He just kissed her small mouth, so it would not have much impact on her remarriage. We got married in secret, so not many people know about it. The damage to her after the divorce would be minimized since too. Also, I promised to give her the house in Brinfield, as well as the national MPV. I won't make her leave without a penny, to her name Old Mrs. York though, this little sh*t. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 229, Old Mrs. York was infuriated at her Pranson's behavior, so much so she did not want to walk anymore. She sat down on Stone Benny by the roadside. She spent so mu etort talking her grandson into agreeing to get married, but Zachary was silent for a moment. He then came over and sat beside his Nana. He said calenly, Nana, you know that love caught be forced. Elle was raised by you, and you asked me to marry her to repay your kindness, so one listened to you. You promised me that you won't interfere with our married fife. The day, got my marriage license with Serenity, told you that T have to examine her character and see if she's worthy for me to spend the rest of my life with. Otherwise, we'll end it in half a year. Old Mrs. York said grumpily, with your nasty temper, you wouldn't admit Ivan if you fell in love with Serenity. Zachary was speechless. Forget it, I'm not angry. Was wrong when I forced you to marry Serenity. You're rift. Love can't be forced. You can do whatever you want. As you said, you two married secretly, so not many people know that you're husband and wife. Even if you divorce, the damage to Serenity can be elda dinbid. She sighed. One just hope that you won't regret it. Don't come me c asterisk iscsc $$ nkinkskunk. cn $k $NCW loam. And beg me to help Utah the future. Zachary pursed his lips tightly without saying a word. Call the driver over for me. Pin leaving now. When see you, it feels like Pim seeing your grandfather. Before he passed, he was worried about your marriage and feared that you would be a bachelor your whole life. Zachary thought, I was still very young when Grandpa passed, all right? There was no need to worry about marriage at that age. Of course, he was not old now either. He was only 30. Have breakfast before you go, Nana. Regardless, Zachary was still filial to his Nana. He was brought up by his grandparents. After his grandfather passed, his Nana suddenly became lonely. He spent a long time accompanying her before she overcame the pain of losing the love of her life. When she finally returned to her old yet youthful state, he was relieved and proceeded to take care of the company. T lost my appetite just by looking at your face. I'll eat at Serenity's shop. I'll only regain my appetite when I see my granddaughter-in-law's face. Zachary was not angry at being snubbed by his Nana. He knew she adored Serenity, and not just because the latter saved her life. Serenity's character was very much to Nana's liking. Teal tell Sam to pack breakfast for you to bring over and eat. With Serenity. Old Mrs. York thought about it and agreed. She instructed her grandson, tell Sam to pack more. Serenity has a good appetite. That Jasmine girl is there too. With those two around, I'll think lean clear owl an entire buffet. Zachary thought of Serenity's potential as a glutton, and a smile appeared in his eyes. He had to admit that he liked eating with her too. Every time he saw her eating with gusto, he felt his appetite improve, and he would eat an extra serving. Sure. Zachary took out his phone and called Sam. He instructed him to pack 3 servings of breakfast and have old Mrs. York's driver brings them over, as Nana would be going to Wiltspoon School. Sam understood. "Nana, are you really not coming back with me for breakfast?" Zachary clarified with his grandmother even after instructing Sam to pack breakfast. "No, if one go with you." Serenity would have finished eating by the time I reach her store. She then immediately took out her phone and said, "I'll tell her so she doesn't buy breakfast herself." Zachary watched silently as his grandmother called Serenity. He also wanted to know what time she went home after giving her statement at the police station. "Nana." Serenity was awakened by the phone call, so her voice sounded a little groggy when she greeted Nana. The old woman could instantly tell that Serenity was still sleeping, and she laughed. "You're not up yet? I thought you would have already woken up by now." In the past, Serenity would have gone to the market to buy food and returned by this time. "T went to bed late last night, so I slept in today. Where are you now, Nana?" Serenity thought the old lady was coming over, so she inquired. Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 230. I'm outside now. I'm going to your store to have breakfast with you. By the way, you don't need to get takeouts for breakfast, Saren. I bought 3 portions. I'll bring them over to eat with you and Jasmine. Sure, wait for me in the store then. I'll be right there. But Nana, you don't have to get up so early in the future. You can sleep in. I won't be hungry. Team old now and a light sleeper. I wake up as soon as the sun rises, so I'm used to it. I'm not worried about you going hungry. I just like eating with you. Food tastes especially good when it's with you. Serenity laughed. For the past few months, she often ate with the old lady. Old Mrs. York knew that many old stores in Wiltspoon served delicious snacks. She would often take Serenity and Jasmine to eat all these famous and most authentic snacks in Wiltspoon. Serenity and Jasmine both felt that old Mrs. York was definitely a glutton when she was in her youth. Now that she was old, she could not eat a lot. Furthermore, since her living conditions had improved, her palate became picky. That was why her appetite decreased. The two chatted for a while before old Mrs. York hung up the phone. Then, she looked up and saw her grandson's dark eyes staring straight at her. She was taken aback, so she asked, "What are you looking at me like that for? Did you want me to ask her something?" Zachary's lips, which were pursed into a straight line, parted. "You've hung up. Is there a point in me saying it now? Why didn't you speak up before?" He tensed his face and turned silent. Old Mrs. York smacked his arm and said, "Look, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're just so stubborn. If you want to say or ask anything, just open your mouth and ask. You always make that long face and purse your lips. It's as if your mouth wasn't made to speak. Your grandfather and I weren't clumsy in speech. How did you grow up to become like this? You have a perfectly working mouth, but you don't know how to speak." Zachary's handsome face was quietly tinted red. He was scolded by his Nana. "Tell me, what did you want to ask Serenity? I'll help you ask her when I see her later." Old Mrs. York finally chose to help her grandson since she looked forward to the young couple getting along. Zachary tensed his face again and remained silent. Old Mrs. York was furious and wanted to smack him again. She rubbed her hands together and muttered incessantly, "Is he my grandson? Is he really my grandson? T just want to know what time she came back last night. She had an accident yesterday." "What accident?" "A bunch of punks stopped her car in the middle of the road. They wanted to beat her up, but she managed to fight back. Finally, the police took the punks and her back to the station." As soon as he finished speaking, old Mrs. York glared at him. The next second, she smacked him even more forcefully. Zachary was wearing a running tank top, so his arms were bare. A red mark bloomed on his arm after being slapped by his Nana. It was as clear as day how angry she was at the moment. "You saw that happening, yet you didn't do anything? Zachary, even if you don't love Serenity, you can't just stand by and do nothing if you see her in danger. Even if it's a stranger, you should also stand up for what's right, let alone your wife." Zachary waited until his grandmother was done scolding him and said sullenly, "She's very skilled. I didn't even have the chance to save the damsel in distress." Old Mrs. York's berate came to an abrupt halt. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 230, 1 Lingfei 231 Lingfei. Married at First Sight. Old Mrs. York looked at her grandson, and her grandson looked at her. Her lips moved several times to say something, but she did not speak. In the end, she burst into laughter. Zachary was exasperated as he watched his Nana laugh uncontrollably. Old Mrs. York grinned and patted his shoulder. Zachary had to hold his grandmother for fear that she would fall if she laughed too hard. After a while, she finally stopped laughing and said, "Zach, I was wrong about you. Serenity learned mixed martial arts, and her skill is quite good, so it's no problem for her to handle a handful of punks. My suggestion to you next time is when you see her in trouble, regardless if she needs help or not, just go up and save her. In fact, it's better if you get hurt while saving her. That way, she'll feel guilty about it and will treat you exceptionally well." Zachary's expression was gloomy, and his thin lips pursed tightly. "You need to know a few tricks if you want to chase after your wife. Of course, the most important thing is your sincerity." He said coldly, "Nana, I won't chase after my wife." Fine, you won't. Just continue being stubborn. The day will come when you beg me for help, hee. Tien Zachary's expression was dark. "Is this really my Nana? Why do I feel like she's just waiting to laugh at me? It's like she's taking pleasure in my misfortune." Old Mrs. York's driver had arrived. "TM leaving now. You take your me running. If you have no appetite for breakfast, learn from me. My method is proven effective. I'm way more experienced than you." She patted his shoulder again and walked to the car with a smile on her face. She asked the driver, "Did Sam tell you to bring the packed breakfast?" "Yes, it's in the car." Old Mrs. York hummed in response. Zachary opened the door for her and helped her get into the car. He saw the 3 insulated lunch boxes lying on the seat, and he pursed his lips without word spoken. Old Mrs. York left while Zachary stood and watched his grandmother leave. After a moment, he walked back. The morning jog ended. Back at the villa, he changed his clothes and went downstairs to have breakfast. Since old Mrs. York told Sam to pack 3 servings of breakfast for her to take away, the breakfast that the kitchen prepared for Zachary was packed away too. They quickly prepared another portion for Zachary. But it was not a rich spread due to the lack of time. Zachary did not have much of an appetite, so he did not bicker with the kitchen staff about the breakfast. He grabbed a bite or two and drank half a cup of coffee to improve his mental state before leaving with his group of bodyguards. The concrete road in front of the villa area was connected to a large expressway. It was a road the residents had to pass through. Zachary's motorcade traveled half of this road before it was forced to stop. There was a car stopped in the middle of the road ahead of them. This was not a public road. The road was only wide enough for 2 cars to pass side to side if they drove very carefully. Otherwise, it would be easy to collide. The stationary car happened to be in the middle of the road. Thus, whether it was from the left or right, the cars behind it did not have enough space to pass by. Zachary's driver honked. The driver of the car in front climbed out from under the car and said loudly in embarrassment, "My car broke down." Zachary's driver turned his head and said to Zachary, "Mr. Zachary, there's a car in front that broke down." No one knew what Zachary was thinking. After he heard the driver's words, he simply glanced at the car in front and said, "You 2 get off and take a look. If it's repairable, then help him. If it takes too long, tell everyone to help push his car to the side, and then tell him to call for a tow truck. Don't block other people's way." Gu Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 232, Yes, sir. Zachary's driver and Jim got out of the car. The driver in distress was grateful for the 2 who got out to help him. After checking the car, Zachary's driver said, "It'll take several hours for your car to be repaired. We're in a rush and can't help you. I'll ask some people to help you push the car to the side so you don't block the incoming traffic. You can call a tow truck later." The car could be moved to the side with everyone's combined efforts. As long as the car was moved, it would not block the cars behind. With gratitude, the driver said, "Of course, then I'll thank you in advance. The young lady I'm working for has urgent business to attend to. Could you give her a ride?" Jim and the driver did not dare to agree without permission, but Jim returned to the Rolls-Royce and respectfully asked their boss, "Mr. Zachary, there's another person in the car in front. The driver said she's a young lady who he's serving, and she has urgent business to attend to. His car will need to be towed away for repair, so he asked if we can give his lady a ride." Zachary asked coldly, "Which family is she from?" Jim replied hesitantly, "I didn't ask." Ask him and then arrange for it. Never mind, there's no need to ask. I already know who it is. Zachary saw who the young lady was as she came down from the car. It was none other than Alyssa Stone, the woman who would not stop pestering him after publicly confessing her love to him and openly pursuing him. Serenity told him that Alyssa had gone to the beach for a vacation. Why was she back so soon? Seeing Alyssa walking toward his car, Zachary's handsome face tensed up. He suddenly remembered Serenity telling him that Alyssa had asked her for advice on how to pursue him. Meanwhile, that damned woman Serenity had enthusiastically taught Alyssa a method to help take him down. He had never seen such a generous wife before. She actually helped another woman chase after her own husband. Zachary instantly felt that Alyssa's car breaking down was deliberate. In the past, she always drove herself out, but she let a driver drive her this time. It was clearly to block his way. Jim saw Alyssa and was a little surprised. However, he did not say anything and simply retreated to the side without a word. Alyssa walked over and bent down slightly to knock on Zachary's window. Zachary refused to pay her any attention and did not wind down the window. "Zachary, my car broke down. Can you give me a ride?" Alyssa had to raise her voice since Zachary did not lower the window. He maintained his posture of looking straight ahead and did not even glance at her. "Zachary, I promise you that I just want a ride. It won't affect you in any way. I can sit with your bodyguards." Jim watched silently. He wondered if his boss would be soft-hearted enough to let Ms. Stone get into the car. Zachary remained quiet. His bodyguards got out of the car and helped move Alyssa's car to the side. After making sure that other cars would be able to pass through, the bodyguards returned to their own cars. The driver and Jim got into the car as well. The driver turned his head to peek at Zachary, but Jim said in a low voice, "Drive." "What about Ms. Stone? Were they giving her a ride or not?" Jim asked, "Do you want to lose your job?" The driver immediately started the car. "I don't want to lose my job. Although Mr. Zachary is cold, he offers a very good salary. The amount of money I earn is enough to feed the whole family, so I definitely want to keep my job." Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 233, Zachary. Alyssa chased after Zachary's car for a few steps and gave up. He refused to let her get into his car. Even if she lay under his wheels, he would not stop and simply send her to the afterlife. Alyssa watched as his car, followed by his entourage of bodyguards, drove away. She stomped her feet. She ran here early in the morning to block his way, which she succeeded, and in return, he helped her a little. After all, his bodyguards had helped to push the car to the side of the road and prevented it from blocking other cars which were coming from behind. However, she was still upset that she was unable to ride in his car. Of course, she would not give up just like that. She would not give up before half a year. It had not been long since her public confession. Hang in there. One day, she would be able to sit in his car. She would be the only young woman who could sit in his car. Alyssa, who was daydreaming, felt her mood improve. She called her butler and asked him to arrange for a car to pick her up. "Is the seafood I brought back last night still alive? They're not dead, right? If they're not, pack them up for me and send them over as well. One want to give them away." Alyssa remembered that she promised Serenity she would send her some seafood after her vacation. She specially brought back a lot of seafood with her from Seaview Villa. Alyssa's parents knew that she made friends with Serenity, and they did not look down on Serenity for being unworthy of befriending their daughter. On the contrary, they were very supportive of her becoming friends with Serenity. Maybe it was because she had too few friends. Her parents thought that with Alyssa's picky tastes, if there was someone whom she was willing to make friends with, that person must be a great girl. When Alyssa wanted to bring the abundant seafood back for Serenity, Audrey had even personally helped her daughter pack them. Audrey had never seen Serenity, whether it was in person or images online. However, she saw the manky that Serenity gave her daughter and felt that the former was indeed capable. Furthermore, after knowing Serenity's life experience, she felt a special affection for this strong and independent girl. It was most likely because she saw a shadow of her youth in Serenity. When she left the orphanage, she had to be independent as well and relied on herself to get to where she was today. Unfortunately, she and her sister were separated, unlike Serenity and her sister who had always been together. Serenity did not know that Alyssa had returned from vacation and actually blocked Zachary's road like how she taught Alyssa to. The couple lived separately because they were having a cold war, with Zachary going back to Regent Residences to stay. That was why Alyssa had the opportunity to block his car. Liberty had to go job hunting again today. Serenity woke up late, and Liberty could not wait for her to come and pick Sunny up, so she brought him straight to the shop. Fortunately, she called her sister and told her that she had already sent Sunny to the shop. Serenity was already on the way to Liberty's house when she received the latter's call, and she turned back and went to the store instead. Old Mrs. York did not arrive before her. She arrived after Serenity had gotten to the store. Old Mrs. York was thinking about coming to chat with Serenity, so she used a car that matched Zachary's poverty facade. She went to the used car market and bought a pre-owned car for tens of thousands of dollars. That way, it would not arouse Serenity's suspicion. Nana. Serenity held Sunny and walked over to help old Mrs. York open the car door. Old Mrs. York got out with 3 insulated lunch boxes. Serenity wanted to help, but the old woman laughed and said, "No need. They're not heavy, so I can carry them. Why is Sunny here? Where's your sister?" Old Mrs. York stretched her hand to pinch Sunny's little face, praising, "Your sister raised Sunny really well. The boy is big and strong. When would she have a fat great-grandson like Sunny?" Gu Lingfei, Married at First Sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 234. Old Mrs. York peeked at Serenity's stomach, which was flat and plain. W.S. Ner, proud and awkward grandson, said that he had not out-ed Serenity yet. The husband and wife were still pure. It was still too early for her to have a great-grandchild. Serenity disdained how cold Zachary was and could not bring herself to jump him, let alone sleep naked. As for Zachary, old Mrs. York was worried. She suddenly had a thought. Could the rumors be true? Does Zachary like men, or does he have some sort of physiological problem? He's been married to Serenity for more than a month, and they live together, but he has never exercised his right as a husband. Old Mrs. York decided to tell the cook at home to brew a nourishing soup for Zachary at noon and let Serenity send it to him to nourish his body. Maybe it would help in conceiving a great-grandchild for old Mrs. York too. It would also help to mend the relationship between the couple. They could not keep up this Cold War and live separately forever. Sunny, great. Grandma, Serenity had a sudden pride for her nephew who was well raised. Hello, great-grandma. Old Mrs. York was Zachary's grandmother, and Serenity was from the same generation as Zachary, so Sunny had to address her as great-grandma. Old Mrs. York smiled and praised Sunny for his manners. She went into the store with Serenity. "Grandma May, you're here." When Jasmine came out and saw the old lady carrying 3 insulated lunch boxes, she quickly came forward to take the lunch boxes. "I brought you breakfast. Come, let's eat together. I love eating with you 2 girls. The food tastes especially good." When old Mrs. York entered the store, she treated it like her own home and nonchalantly went to wash her hands and get the cutlery. Jasmine opened the lunch boxes. When she saw the breakfast inside, she asked old Mrs. York, who was emerging from the small kitchen, "Grandma May, did you buy this from a 5-star restaurant?" The food was exquisite and smelled heavenly. Jasmine would not believe it if old Mrs. York said that it was not from a 5-star restaurant. Her family hired a cook too, but the cook's skills were nowhere as good. Old Mrs. York could not say that it was made by the chef in Zachary's house. Since Jasmine asked, she played along and lied. "I took the lunch boxes to Wiltspoon Hotel and told them to pack the food in them so it stays warm." Serenity washed her nephew's hands and said, "Nana, you shouldn't have. Jasmine and I aren't fussy eaters. Even if you bought plain oatmeal, we would still eat it with pleasure. My pension for this month just came in, so I wanted to treat you to a nice meal. Nana, your pension should be used for your retirement." Old Mrs. York laughed. "I have a lot of children and grandchildren who will support me. My old age, I don't lack money. I'm just worried I won't know how to spend all the money I have. All of them give me an allowance every month. Don't worry. I just bought 3 servings of breakfast. They didn't cost much." Old Mrs. York indeed had a lot of personal assets, and her only worry was indeed about how she was going to spend the money. Serenity did not say more. The 3 adults and 1 child sat around the checkout counter and ate the delicious breakfast that old Mrs. York brought. "Serenity, Serenity," Alyssa's voice resounded before her arrival. Old Mrs. York, who was eating happily, froze when she heard Alyssa's voice. "Alyssa knows my real identity. I can't let her see me." Stranger Marriage, Chapter 235. Old Mrs. York was anxious and wanted to slip away, but thought, wait, I can't slip away. Alyssa is already at the entrance. If I try to leave, I'll be caught red-handed. T need to hide. Thus, she calmly put down her cutlery and said to Serenity and Jasmine, I'm full now. I have to go to the washroom. With that, she got up and walked toward the washroom while saying, when you get old, every trip to the washroom will take at least half an hour. Serenity and Jasmine were speechless. Serenity, are you there? Alyssa appeared just as old Mrs. York walked away. She rushed in with a mesh bag of sea shrimps in her left hand and a similar bag of sea crabs in her right hand. Serenity, come take them. They're too heavy for me. Alyssa was a rich and pampered young lady. She usually had everything handed over to her on a silver platter and never did any labor, so she felt the 2 big bags of shrimps and crabs were heavy. When Serenity and Jasmine saw this, they rushed forward and took the 2 bags of seafood from her hand. Ms. Stone, what are these? Alyssa shook her arms a few times and said, gosh, they were so heavy that my arms are sore. Didn't I tell you that I'd bring you some seafood when I come back from vacation? These are really fresh seafood that we fished out when we went out to sea. I had someone pack it up and picked the largest ones to raise so I could bring them to you when I came back. Serenity looked at the 2 large bags of shrimps and crabs and laughed. Ms. Stone, these are too much for us. It's not much. You can keep them and eat them sparingly, or you can process them and keep them frozen in the fridge, then eat them when you feel like it. There's more in my car. You guys can go get it since I don't have any strength left. Where's this boy from? He's so cute. Alyssa reached out and touched Sunny's little face. He's my sister, S. She's busy, so she sent him over for me to look after. He's adorable. He looks a little familiar, too. Have I seen your sister before? Oh, I've seen photos of you too when you were little. Serenity smiled. Yeah, Sunny takes after my sister. Photos of my sister and I when we were young were uploaded online and made the trending search, so it's normal for you to find him familiar. Alyssa hummed and did not think much about it. After hearing that there was still a lot of seafood in Alyssa's car, Serenity and Jasmine went out to take a look. Lo and behold, they saw the limousine was truly stuffed with seafood. Some were fresh, some were sun-dried like cuttlefish and so on, and some could be kept in the freezer to be eaten slowly over time. You really shouldn't have, Miss Stone. Serenity thought that it was too much. Alyssa said nonchalantly, it's nothing much, it was that expensive anyway. I'm happy as long as you don't mind it. We're linked by fate, and I think of you as a friend, so you don't need to be so distant. Hurry up and move them in. You have a fridge in your store, right? If you don't, I'll call someone to send you 2 refrigerators right now. Save a fridge. It was not large. But how could Serenity let Alyssa send her 2 more refrigerators? She put the fresh seafood in the kitchen and prepared to have a seafood feast for brunch. She placed the dried ones in the fridge first. Alyssa saw the dishes sitting on the table that had not been cleaned up, as well as the untouched breakfast. She asked, are you guys having breakfast now? Stranger Marriage, Chapter 236, we just finished. Jasmine quickly cleaned up the dishes, and Alyssa asked out of curiosity, there are 4 sets of cutlery, is there someone else? Jasmine said while cleaning up, Serenity's grandmother-in-law came over. She's in the washroom now. Alyssa hummed and stopped asking. She was aware of Serenity's marriage. Due to the trending news before, she even told her brother to fire John Hunt. She understood Serenity and the Hunt family's disputes more than others, so undoubtedly she knew Serenity was married too. Not many people from the outside world knew about it. Alyssa was not a nosy person, so she did not ask about Serenity's love life. After Jasmine cleaned up the table, Serenity poured a glass of water for Alyssa. Why are you back from vacation so soon, Miss Stone? It's because I'm worried about my sweetheart, of course. I was with my parents by the beach for 2 days and came back to the city last night. I have something to tell you, Serenity. This morning, I went to block Mr. York's car the way you taught me, and I actually succeeded. Alyssa could not wait to share her success story with Serenity. Serenity laughed. Really? Did you guys talk? Mr. York helped you, right? Yes, but also no. Alyssa dimmed for a moment before saying, I didn't talk with him because he refused to get out of the car. It's as if he's afraid that I'll eat him up. My car broke down, so I wanted to ride in his car, but he wouldn't let me in. However, he let his bodyguards get out of their cars and helped move my car to the side to not block the way for other cars. Mind you, it was broken down on purpose. Anyway, I guess he did help me in that aspect, but he didn't help me all the way. I used your method, but it was only half a success. Alyssa quickly cheered up again. At least Zachary didn't leave me and my car there, he told his bodyguards to help move my car to the side. This shows that his heart is actually not made of stone. If I keep this method up, one day, he'll let me into his car. It's a pity I couldn't get in his car and have a few words with him alone, Alyssa lamented. T was thinking that I'd have an excuse to buy him dinner and thank him for the ride if I got into his car, but I didn't get the opportunity. Serenity laughed. Who said you didn't get the opportunity? Didn't he tell his bodyguards to help you move your car? He helped you, so you can use this excuse to go up to him and invite him to dinner or send him some gifts as thanks. Alyssa's eyes lit up as she heard Serenity's idea. You're right. Why didn't I think of that? Serenity teased her. You wanted to reach the finish line at one go, so you neglected the details. Alyssa was not offended by the teasing and said magnanimously, I've had a crush on him for many years. I was conflicted and forced myself to give up on him in the past, but I like him too much to let him go, so I mustered the courage to chase after him instead. Loving someone abundantly means wanting more from that person. She was anxious to win Zachary over. She wanted to get a marriage license with him immediately and become husband and wife. Old Mrs. York, who was hiding from Alyssa in the washroom, could hear the conversation between Serenity and her. Since the two girls were not on guard against anyone, they spoke openly and did not lower their volume. Despite her old age, old Mrs. York's hearing did not deteriorate, so she could hear their conversation clearly. She never expected Serenity to teach Alyssa how to pursue Zachary. What a good show this is. She was not anxious for her grandson, but was rejoicing over her grandson's misfortune instead. It's that little brat's fault for pretending to be poor to deceive Serenity. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 237. Serenity had no knowledge that Zachary was the heir of the York family, who was also Alyssa's crush. Alyssa only mentioned Mr. York and did not say Zachary's name, so the two did not know that they were talking about the same person. Serves him right. Old Mrs. York snickered in the washroom. The show is getting more and more exciting. Old Mrs. York, who had the mindset of watching a good show, perked her ears and continued to eavesdrop on the conversation between the two girls outside. Serenity had not forgotten about Nana. After chatting with Alyssa for a while, she said to her best friend, Jasmine, go check up on Nana. She's been in the washroom for a long time. Jasmine hummed and turned to walk to the washroom. Sonny was sitting by the side, playing with his toys. Even if there was no adult looking after him, he would simply play in the store instead of wandering out. He was a smart boy. Alyssa had thought that her ploy did not work, but after hearing Serenity's idea, she was enlightened and said to Serenity with a grin, You're really my best advisor. Thank you. I'll go find Mr. York now and invite him to dinner. If he refuses, I won't wait in front of his company. He won't be able to get rid of me unless he orders takeout. By the way, what kind of gifts do you usually give to your husband, Serenity? Serenity said honestly, I've only given him a few sets of clothes and a miniature tree, Manky Nico, and gold dragon to him. They're not worth much. She did not know if he even wore the clothes she gave him. She had only seen him wear the tie once. If Zachary were to find out that his wife had these thoughts, he would vomit blood. That day, he deliberately went to work wearing the new clothes and tie she gave him. All the executives who saw him that day recognized that he was wearing a different label. However, only the gossipy Josh knew the truth while the others did not. Nevertheless, at least they could tell that something was different. On the other hand, Serenity had no inkling for the entire day. She even thought that he did not wear the clothes she gave him. I won't send him clothes for now since he won't accept them anyway. Besides, I don't know what size he wears. All his clothes are tailored by senior designers. The clothing designer responsible for Zachary's daily wear was particularly tight-lipped. Alyssa had spent a lot of money trying to pry open his mouth, but she failed each time. She had a crush on Zachary for many years, but she still did not know what size of clothes he wore. Serenity, do you have any finished products now? Think your crafts are beautiful. Took home the Manky Nico you gave me, and my mom also said that it looked amazing. She even said that she'd buy from your online shop when she has the time and help your business. If you have ready-made products now, sell me a few. I'll take them to him as a gift. Serenity said, These goods aren't worth much. Are you sure you want to give him such trinkets? He's the high and mighty Mr. York. The York family has assets worth hundreds of billions. Mr. York might not take a fancy to something even if it's an exotic treasure, but Alyssa wanted to give such little trinkets to him. He doesn't lack anything, so if I want to give him something, it has to be skillfully made. He'll only accept it if it's to his liking. Alyssa did not think that there was anything wrong with giving handicrafts as gifts. She was very fond of the crafts Serenity made. Since you don't mind, I have a few finished products. Here now, I can let you have 2, but not too many. Some of them are due to be delivered to customers who pre-ordered them. After the previous experience, Serenity would not dare give the goods ordered by other customers to Alyssa again. She was only willing to sell 2 items in her stock to Alyssa. That's fine. Could you take them out and let me see what they are? Stranger Marriage, Chapter 238, it's a pair of phoenixes, a male and a female. Serenity got up and walked to the big box where she stored her crafts to bring out a delicate and beautiful box. She placed the box in front of Alyssa and said, "They're inside." Alyssa opened the box and retrieved 2 well-woven phoenixes from it and complimented, "They're so lifelike. Serenity, your hands are amazing. How much are these phoenixes? I'll buy them. We're close, and you think of me as a friend, so I'll just charge you the cost for the materials." Alyssa placed the 2 phoenixes back into the box and said, "It's precisely because we're friends that I can't take advantage of you. I'll pay however much it's worth. I can't just pay you for the cost of the materials. I've seen the price of your goods on the online store. I don't remember the exact number, but these 2 phoenixes seem to cost a few hundred." She took out her purse from her Hermes bag and withdrew a small stack of cash. Without even counting, she shoved the banknotes into Serenity's hands and said, "Keep the change and don't count the amount, just take it. If Mr. York accepts my gift, I'll help you market your products. I guarantee that your sales will increase by several fold. In that case, I'll thank you in advance." Since Alyssa was so firm, Serenity did not refuse. She did not find change or count the money and simply husband Serenity. Serenity said honestly, "I've only given him a few sets of clothes and a miniature tree, Manky and gold dragon to him. They're not worth much." She did not know if he even wore the clothes she gave him. She had only seen him wear the tie once. If Zachary were to find out that his wife had these thoughts, he would vomit blood. That day, he deliberately went to work wearing the new clothes and tie she gave him. All the executives who saw him that day recognized that he was wearing a different label. However, only the gossipy Josh knew the truth while the others did not. Nevertheless, at least they could tell that something was different. On the other hand, Serenity had no inkling for the entire day. She even thought that he did not wear the clothes she gave him. "I won't send him clothes for now since he won't accept them anyway. Besides, I don't know what size he wears. All his clothes are tailored by senior designers." The clothing designer responsible for Zachary's daily wear was particularly tight-lipped. Alyssa had spent a lot of money trying to pry open his mouth, but she failed each time. She had a crush on Zachary for many years, but she still did. "I'm fine. I just got carried away while watching a video and spent too much time inside." Serenity and Jasmine were speechless. "Who came just now? I think I heard you guys talking," old Mrs. York asked with a curious expression. "She's a new friend I made. She went to the beach for a vacation and sent me a lot of seafood now that she's back. Nana, stay here for lunch. We'll cook a seafood feast for you." Alyssa sent them an excessive amount of seafood. Serenity wanted to ask old Mrs. York to bring some back with her so her in-laws could have a taste as well. Although she and Zachary were not living together, and she had never been to his old home, Serenity felt she had to offer good food to her in-laws so they remembered her presence. "Sure, I'd stay even if you didn't ask me. I often eat alone at home, so even the most delicious food doesn't taste as good. You can make more. I'll call Zachary and ask him to come over for lunch." Serenity opened her mouth to say something, but in the end, she merely hummed. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 239, in a hotel not far from Wiltspoon Hospital, Noah Hunt's parents knocked on the room door of the eldest son of the Hunt family, Stuart Hunt. When Stuart opened the door and saw his youngest brother with his wife looking worried, he asked with concern, "David, what happened? You two don't look very good." "Stuart, Noah hasn't come back since he went out yesterday. We're worried something might have happened to him." Noah's father was the youngest among the Hunt siblings, and his parents loved him the most, so they gave him the name David, which meant beloved. Did Noah say what he was doing? As the eldest of the Hunt family, Stuart was good at maintaining his composure. David hesitated for a moment and said, Noah said he was going to settle the score with Serenity and make her pay for Mom's medical bills, but he hasn't returned since he went out yesterday. His cell phone is turned off too. Noah's family did not know that he was being detained in the police station now, and his phone automatically shut down because it ran out of battery. Stuart's expression darkened instantly, and he scolded his brother and his wife. How could you let Noah go to Serenity by himself? She refused to budge even when the brothers went together last time. How would he be able to make her bow if he went alone? Husband, Serenity? Serenity said honestly, I've only given him a few sets of clothes and a miniature tree, Manky Nico, and gold dragon to him. They're not worth much. She did not know if he even wore the clothes she gave him. She had only seen him wear the tie once. If Zachary were to find out that his wife had these thoughts, he would vomit blood. That day, he deliberately went to work wearing the new clothes and tie she gave him. All the executives who saw him that day recognized that he was wearing a different label. However, only the gossipy Josh knew the truth while the others did not. Nevertheless, at least they could tell that something was different. On the other hand, Serenity had no inkling for the entire day. She even thought that he did not wear the clothes she gave him. I won't send him clothes for now since he won't accept them anyway. Besides, I don't know what size he wears. All his clothes are tailored by senior designers. The clothing designer responsible for Zachary's daily wear was particularly tight-lipped. Alyssa had spent a lot of money trying to pry open his mouth, but she failed each time. She had a crush on Zachary for many years, but she still did daughters dearly. Thus, for his brother's sake, Stuart treated Serenity well when she was a child. Maybe Serenity would listen to him if he went. Stuart proclaimed that he was good to Serenity when she was young, but that was only in his head. However, even if he did treat her well before, he worked together with Serenity's grandparents to share his third brother and his wife's insurance payout after their deaths. He then drove away his two underage nieces and hogged the family property left by his third brother. All those actions had erased any shred of Serenity's affection for her eldest uncle. Wait here. I'll come with you after I change my clothes. Stuart, should we call Mike and John too? David thought they would have strength in numbers. He would feel more at ease if he called his two most capable nephews. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 240, sure, let's call them. Stuart also felt that it was better to have more people on their side and agreed with David to call his son and nephew. Unexpectedly, when David called his eldest nephew Mike, he received news from Mike instead. Uncle David, I was just about to call you. Something happened to Noah. David's face turned ashen, and he quickly asked, What happened to Noah? He said. He went to ask Serenity for money. Did she beat him up? If that damned girl dares to touch a single hair on my boy, I'll end her. I'll go back and dig up her mother's grave. Serenity's father was David's third brother, so David would not dig up his grave. However, his third sister-in-law was not related to him by blood. Since Serenity angered him, he would dig up his third sister-in-law's grave. For real, Noah brought a few punks to intercept Serenity's car in the middle of the night. They also brought iron bars and wanted to smash her car, but she fought back. The punks and Noah are being detained now. I just got the news too. He's detained? It's just a conflict between siblings. Why did she call the police? That girl is so cruel. How could she call the cops on Noah, Mike? Can you bail Noah out? He's still young. He's just a child. He'll be traumatized by this. When David thought that his niece had called the cops to arrest his son, he was first extremely furious. Then, he was worried that his son would be frightened and thought of, husband, Serenity. Serenity said honestly, I've only given him a few sets of clothes, and a miniature tree, Manky Nico, and gold dragon too. They're not worth much. She did not know if he even wore the clothes she gave him. She had only seen him wear the tie once. If Zachary were to find out that his wife had these thoughts, he would vomit blood. That day, he deliberately went to work wearing the new clothes and tie she gave him. All the executives who saw him that day recognized that he was wearing a different label. However, only the gossipy Josh knew the truth while the others did not. Nevertheless, at least they could tell that something was different. On the other hand, Serenity had no inkling for the entire day. She even thought that he did not wear the clothes she gave him. I won't send him clothes for now since he won't accept them anyway. Besides, I don't know what size he wears. All his clothes are tailored by senior designers. The clothing designer responsible for Zachary's daily wear was particularly tight-lipped. Alyssa had spent a lot of money trying to pry open his mouth, but she failed each time. She had a crush on Zachary for many years, but she still did hundreds of thousands in medical expenses. What could they do if Serenity refused to fork out the money? They went through with the plan they came up with, but what was the result? It backfired on them. I can't persuade him. Mike, are we going to bail Noah out first? Yeah, let's bail Noah out first and find out if he injured Serenity. If she's injured, you have to bring a small gift and visit her. Apologize to her and ask her not to press charges against Noah, or he'd get into even more trouble later. Mike was someone who had experienced the world by doing business, so he was much more rational than his youngest uncle. When Noah's mother heard Mike, she scolded. Serenity got my son arrested, but you want us to apologize to her? No way, I'll get even with her. I'm going to smash up her store and rip her face off. One don't care who's supporting her from the shadows, and I don't care about ruining my reputation. Their reputation was already ruined anyway. The people in the village dug up old scores and pointed fingers at the Hunt family. In her opinion, the villagers only dared to accuse them of how heartless they were back then because old Mrs. Hunt was sick and hospitalized now. Otherwise, the entire Hunt family would be able to stir the entire village up. No one would dare talk about them. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 240, 1 Lingfei 241. Mike hung up the phone, ignoring his aunt's scolding. He then let out a long sigh. He seriously felt he was unlucky because Serenity was unharmed even after he got help from so many people. Mike also felt that Serenity had a backer, but he did not know who that was. None of the mediators were willing to help Mike, which indicated that Serenity's backer must be someone powerful in Wiltspoon. Through their investigation, Mike also did not notice that Serenity and Liberty knew any influential figures. Although Liberty's husband was a manager in a large company, he was just an employee. Mike had no idea what kind of job Serenity's husband had for a living, but he found out from the townspeople that Serenity's husband only drove a national car worth around $120,000. Any of the Hunt's scooters was better than they car belonging to Serenity's husband. This showed that Serenity's husband was not doing so well. If Mike were to guess who Serenity's backer was, it would be Serenity's best friend, Miss Socks, who was born and raised in Wiltspoon. The Sockses were rich, and Mike heard that her aunt married into an affluent family. Was that Socks girl helping Serenity? Serenity thought her money. Hungry relatives would definitely look for her since she called the police to get Noah arrested. Thus, she was mentally prepared. However, Serenity waited until noon and did not see any of her annoying relatives. Grandma May invited Zachary for lunch over a call. When Zachary received the call from his Nana, he had already left the office in his exclusive car and was heading to Wiltspoon Hotel for lunch. Josh drove his car behind Zachary's because they agreed to have lunch together. Nana. Zachary answered his Nana's call. Before she could speak, he asked in a low voice, "Did you get the answer to the question that you were supposed to ask on my behalf?" What question? Was I supposed to ask someone something? Grandma May could not recall. Zachary's car screeched to a stop. His expression remained unchanged, and he continued to talk to his Nana. After a moment of silence, he said, "I wanted you to ask Serenity what time she arrived home last night, but you did give me an answer all morning." Jim turned his head to see his boss talking to the old missus. He quickly grabbed the opportunity to tell Zachary, "Mr. York, it's Ms. Stone again." Alyssa Stone had waited at the entrance of York Corporation all morning so she could invite Zachary to a meal and give him a gift. This time, Alyssa learned her lesson and did not use her car to block his car so it would not get damaged again. Alyssa blocked Zachary's exclusive car with her body so it would not affect other cars from entering or leaving. Zachary did not even look at Alyssa, who was outside the car. Grandma May laughed and said over the phone, "I totally forgot about this question, but never mind, you can ask her yourself later. Are you off work? Come over for lunch now. I'm still in Serenity's store. She's busy at the moment, preparing a seafood feast in the kitchen." Zachary thought about his conflict with Serenity during this time. He had deleted her WhatsApp and she blocked his number. To be honest, Zachary had never had his number blocked since he owned his first mobile phone and got a mobile phone number. Serenity was the first person to block him. I'm not going. Josh and I are going to our hotel for lunch. Zachary rejected Grandma May's lunch invitation. He felt that having lunch at Serenity's store would mean yielding to Serenity. Although he thought that he was at fault and that they were at an impasse, Zachary found it difficult to concede. As Grandma May would say, Zachary was as stubborn as a mule. No, I already told Serenity that you're coming over for lunch and asked her to cook your share. If you don't come, the extra food will be wasted. Hurry over to this seafood feast. There. Fresh from the sea, that Alyssa girl brought them back for Serenity. Hearing this, Zachary frowned and asked coldly, why did she give Serenity so much seafood? Hee, because of you. I'll tell you a secret. Serenity is helping Alyssa to pursue you. Haha, Zach, don't you think it's crazy? This is the first time I've encountered such a situation. Grandma May went outside the bookstore to talk to Zachary so Serenity and Liberty would not overhear. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 242. Zachary was speechless when he heard what his grandmother told him. His grandmother sounded like she was gloating. I won't talk nonsense with you. Just come over for lunch now. Otherwise, I'll tell Serenity that you're the heir to York Corporation. Don't try me. I found you a way to break this stalemate, but you don't want to budge. By the way, I'll tell you another secret. The gift that Alyssa wants to give you is from Serenity. You'll only know what it is when you accept it. Zachary's face turned even darker. His grandmother promised him that she would not interfere in his affairs with Serenity. But she threatened him by saying she would reveal his real identity to Serenity. Zachary hung up the call, but Grandma May did not care. She was also about to end the call anyway. Mr. York, Miss Stone refuses to give way. The driver turned his head and said to Zachary. Zachary was silent for a minute. Suddenly, he opened the door to get out of the car. Alyssa was elated to see Zachary getting out of the car and immediately went forward with the gift box that contained the two phoenixes. Her beautiful big eyes stared at Zachary's handsome face fondly. Even though Zachary looked grim and indifferent, it did not affect his charm. He was utterly handsome and cool. Alyssa fell in love with Zachary's appearance. Mr. York, this is for you. Thank you for helping me this morning. I don't like to owe favors, so since you helped me, I owe you one. May I invite you for lunch to repay your kindness? Alyssa handed the box to Zachary with both hands and looked at Zachary expectantly. She felt that Serenity's idea was pretty useful. Since Alyssa started using Serenity's method of chasing men, Zachary was willing to get out of his car to meet her. Zachary stared at the box. Grandma May said Alyssa bought this gift from Serenity. It must be one of Serenity's craftworks. Serenity gave Alyssa the lucky cat that she promised him the last time. When he found out and got angry, Serenity promised to give him a golden dragon on top of the lucky cat, but he still did not receive the gifts. Did Serenity give them to Alyssa again? With this doubt in mind, Zachary somehow took the gift box that Alyssa handed over. He opened the box and retrieved the contents from the box right before Alyssa. There were two phoenixes. Mr. York, do you like them? I think these two phoenixes are magnificent and lifelike. It was a big surprise to Alyssa that Zachary would take the gift box and open it. Alyssa grinned and looked at Zachary with admiration in her eyes. Zachary thought, at least Serenity didn't give Alyssa my gifts. He stuffed the two phoenixes back into the box and threw the box back to Alyssa before he turned around and returned to his car. Zachary ignored Alyssa's lunch invitation to repay his favor. Jim, drag her aside. Zachary instructed Jim in a deep voice as he got back to his car. Jim complied. He easily dragged Alyssa aside. Alyssa was so furious that she kept stomping on Jim's feet, which made Jim wince in pain. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 243. Zachary's exclusive car drove away from the entrance of York Corporation. Jim only let go of Alyssa after Zachary's car was out of sight. Alyssa turned around to slap Jim. Jim quickly grabbed her wrist and warned her with a cold expression. Miss Stone, I don't discriminate between men and women in a fight. Let me go. I dare you to hit me. Jim flung Alyssa's hand away fiercely and said coldly, I won't hit you if you don't hit me. Miss Stone, if you're rude to me, I'll treat you the way you treat me. Although Jim was a bodyguard, he did not feel inferior to others. His boss treated the bodyguards like brothers. If Alyssa used her identity to threaten and hit Jim, Jim would not be polite to her. You! Alyssa was shocked by Jim's cold attitude. Unlike Serenity, Alyssa did not know martial arts. She only used her status to act as she pleased in Wiltspoon and had never met another young lady who was more powerful than her. That was why Alyssa could do whatever she wanted. Jim was not bothered to bicker with Alyssa. He said coldly, "Stop pestering my boss, he doesn't like you." After speaking, Jim strode toward the bodyguard's car that was waiting for him. Alyssa's face turned red and gloomy with rage because of what Jim said. It took a while for her to come to her senses. As the bodyguard's car drove past, she yelled, "Who do you think you are to talk to me like this? Don't you know who I am?" The guards on duty in the security room heard Alyssa's enraged remarks and thought to themselves, Jim only treated Ms. Stone like that because he knew who she was. Alyssa was the younger sister of Stone Group's CEO and was adored by her family. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was loved by everyone because of her powerful identity. However, the employees of York Corporation knew that Stone Group was their rival, so why should they bother to please Alyssa Stone? It was impossible for Zachary York to accept Alyssa's pursuit. Thus, no one in York Corporation was afraid of offending Alyssa. Zachary's exclusive car stopped at a red light. Zachary called Josh. Josh looked at the car in front of him and answered the phone with a laugh. He said, "I'll be able to hear you if you just wind down your window, turn back, and shout." "Josh, I'll have to cancel our lunch. You can have lunch at the hotel by yourself." "Why?" "I'm going to accompany my grandma. She called me just now." Zachary wanted to save face and did not say he was going to Serenity's bookstore for lunch. Josh said with a smile, "I can accompany Grandma May for lunch too. I don't think she'll mind my presence." Grandma May was an easygoing person and was affable to the younger generation. She would treat Zachary's friend, employee, like her own grandson. "Not today." "Oh," Josh dragged his response and seemed to have guessed the reason. He smiled and said, "Okay then, I'll go to the hotel by myself." After explaining to his friend, Zachary ordered the driver, "Send me back to Brinfield." During their stalemate, Zachary and Serenity had been living separately. Zachary's national MPV that he bought specifically to deceive Serenity was still parked in Brinfield. He did not ask anyone to drive that car to the office as he usually did. Thus, Zachary went over to drive the national MPV. The driver complied with his order. 10 minutes later, the driver sent Zachary back to Brinfield. Zachary drove the national MPV and went straight to Wiltspoon School. When Zachary arrived at Serenity's bookstore, the students who just got out of school were picked up by their parents. The bookstores and convenience stores in front of Wiltspoon School resumed their peace after the bustle. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 244. Zach, you're here. Grandma May came out of the store when she heard the sound of a car outside. She saw her grandson and walked over with a smile. Seeing that his grandson got out of the car empty-handed, she lowered her voice in dissatisfaction and said, "You came here like this. How else should I show up?" Grandma May was speechless. Zachary was truly an unromantic blockhead. Grandma May had to be the bad guy and nagged Zachary for 2 to 3 months, which annoyed him so much that he promised to marry Serenity, ending his bachelorhood. Otherwise, with his personality, Zachary would probably still be a bachelor in his 40s. Don't you know how to buy a bunch of flowers or some gifts? For Serenity, she doesn't need it. The balcony at home is full of flowers. She can enjoy them whenever she likes. Grandma May wanted to kick Zachary, but she held back. That was because if she kicked her biological grandson, she would feel heartbroken too. Zachary's here. Liberty smiled, walked out with her son in her arms, and asked her brother-in-law to go inside. Zachary greeted Liberty politely. When he saw Sonny stretching out his hand toward him, Zachary reached out to carry Sonny. The little guy greeted him in a sweet voice. "What a good boy, Sonny." Zachary did not like to deal with Hank, but he adored Sonny because this little guy was super lovable. Out of the corner of his eyes, Zachary saw Liberty's fleshy face and suddenly thought of his encounter with Hank in his hotel. The bodyguard said that there was a young, beautiful woman beside Hank, and the two were affectionate with each other. And was Hank cheating on Liberty? Zachary did not witness it personally. The bodyguard also only thought the man looked like Hank and did not stop to look carefully. Zachary had doubts in his heart. But he did not tell Liberty about it. He was afraid that if he got the man wrong and told Liberty about it, he would ruin their relationship. Jasmine cleaned up the store and made room for a table which she brought out. When she saw Zachary, she said hello while keeping her hands busy as she wiped the table. Zachary did not see Serenity and guessed that she was still busy in the kitchen. Did Alyssa buy that much seafood? Zach, give Sunny to me and go into the kitchen to see if Serenity needs any help. Grandma May drove her grandson into the kitchen. Liberty and Jasmine heard the old lady and were tactful not to follow so the young couple could have some privacy. Jasmine was aware that Serenity and her husband were at an impasse and hoped that within these few short minutes, Serenity could explain it clearly to Zachary. Jasmine did not want Zachary to think she was trying to be the matchmaker for Serenity and Sean. Jasmine swore that she had never thought about matchmaking her best friend and cousin. She also knew that Serenity only treated Sean as a brother. They had a 3-year age difference, which could be considered a small generation gap. Zachary glanced at his grandmother, who was now carrying Sunny, and she quietly pinched the back of his hand, motioning for him to talk to Serenity. Grandma May had already paved the way for him, and all he had to do was follow through. Why was he motionless? Feeling awkward, Zachary always felt that his grandmother was forcing him to yield to Serenity without showing it. Zachary had no choice but to silently walk into the small kitchen. Serenity finished cooking all the dishes. When Zachary entered the kitchen, he could smell the pleasant aroma of food. Zachary instantly felt hungry. Serenity was stunned when she turned around and saw Zachary. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 245. Zachary quietly looked at Serenity. He had not seen her for 2 days and suddenly felt that he liked seeing her face. The couple stared at each other. In the end, Serenity broke the silence. Wash your hands and help me bring the dishes out. They're ready to serve. Zachary neither refused nor explicitly agreed. He pursed his thin lips and asked in a low voice, "Why did you buy so much seafood?" That was because he did not receive any notice of expenditure from the bank. Did Serenity buy all the seafood from her own pockets? Although they were at an impasse, Zachary still felt that it was his duty as a husband to support the family. "How much did they cost? I'll transfer the money to you later. I agreed to pay for the living expenses." Serenity turned to look at the seafood feast she prepared. She then smiled and explained, "It didn't cost a cent. Ms. Stone brought these back from her beach vacation and gave me a plenty. When you send Nana home later, you can bring some back to your parents. They're all very fresh." Zachary's handsome face twitched slightly. It turned out Alyssa was the one who gave Serenity all these. Alyssa and Serenity were supposed to be love rivals, but because Zachary had deliberately concealed his identity, the two ladies seemed to have some interaction. It seemed that they were even becoming good friends. "We shouldn't receive gifts for no reason. Ms. Stone gave you so much seafood, so we shouldn't owe her a favor. I'll transfer some money to you. Buy something for Ms. Stone and consider it a return gift for all the seafood." In short, Zachary just wanted to transfer money to Serenity. That was because the couple deleted each other's WhatsApp. He did not want to admit to it by taking the initiative to add Serenity back, so he decided to transfer her some money. As long as Serenity was willing to accept his money transfer, she would have to give him her account number. That way, he could openly add his wife on WhatsApp without shame. Serenity did not think as much as Zachary and downright rejected Zachary's offer. She said, "Miss Stone and I are already friends, so don't mind the courtesy, if I'm calculative. With her, she'll be angry and think that I'm looking down on her. Also, I taught Miss Stone a trick, so Miss Stone giving me all this seafood can bet considered payment for me being her relationship consultant." Zachary was speechless. "Wash your hands quickly and help serve the dishes. The seafood won't be nice when it gets cold." Serenity took a plate of shrimps and went around Zachary to go out. "Serenity." Zachary called out to her in a low voice. Serenity stopped, turned to look at him, and asked, "What's wrong?" Zachary looked at her, but he was stumped for words. Seeing that Serenity was impatient and was about to leave again, he did not say anything to reconcile their relationship. He just said, "Nothing." Serenity glared at him, turned around, and walked out of the kitchen. Zachary was the only one left in the small kitchen. He was a little frustrated. After a minute of silence, he finally washed his hands and helped to serve the dishes. Alyssa gave Serenity many kinds of seafood. Serenity cooked a portion of each, which filled the table. Jasmine also bought a few bottles of drinks. Everyone sat around the table and had a great meal. Even Sunny enjoyed his meal. Sunny liked shrimps, but he was too young to peel the shells, so his mother had to peel them for him. Serenity loved her nephew and felt sorry for her sister, who was exhausted from walking around all morning looking for a job. Thus, she put on disposable gloves, peeled the shells for her nephew, and said to her sister, "Liberty, eat some. I'll take care of Sunny." "I'm fine, you can eat." Liberty took some fish for her son and asked him to eat some fish instead of just shrimp. Grandma May admired the strong bond between the Hunt sisters. Lingfei, married at first sight. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 246. Grandma May noticed her grandson was busy eating and was not attentive to her granddaughter-in-law, so she quietly nudged her grandson's foot under the table. Zachary looked at his grandmother with his dark and innocent eyes, pretending to be clueless about what his grandmother meant by that nudge. Grandma May was frustrated. In the beginning, Grandma May and her husband tried their best to raise their eldest grandson as their successor and poured all their efforts into him, but why were the results so unsatisfactory? Grandma May was no doubt satisfied with Zachary's capability. York Corporation soared to the top and developed faster and better than Stone Group after it was handed over to Zachary. However, in terms of love life, Grandma May felt that her grandson had a negative EQ. Peel some shrimp for Serenity. Grandma May had no choice but to remind her grandson in a low voice. Zachary did not know how to seize such a good opportunity. He pursed his thin lips and thought, "She has hands." Grandma May knew Zachary well because she raised him. As soon as Zachary pursed his lips, she already knew what he was thinking. She glared at her grandson. After receiving his Nana's threatening gaze, Zachary quietly took out a pair of disposable gloves from the box, put them on, stretched out his long hands, and put down the plate of shrimps. In front of him, he said softly, "Serenity, you can eat. I'll peel the shrimp for Sunny." Grandma May was speechless. She wanted Zachary to be considerate to Serenity, but why was he being considerate to Sunny? What a hopeless punk. Serenity agreed to let Zachary do the tough work and took off her disposable gloves. Zachary was quick to peel the shrimp. Soon, Sunny's small plate was full of shrimp meat. Zachary continued to peel the shrimp, but instead of putting the shrimp onto Sunny's plate, he put the shrimp back on the plate where they came from. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 247. Police Station now. Serenity was not injured, so those gangsters were just detained. What are the Hunts trying to do again? Zachary instructed Josh to arrange for someone to watch the Hunts' movements so he would know what they were up to before Serenity. They want to bail Noah out. Zachary explained. He gathered a bunch of thugs to scare Serenity. If Serenity didn't know how to fight, her car would be smashed and she would be injured. She might even get robbed. They were clearly trying to carjack her, so detention is too light of a punishment. Josh laughed. "I can't believe your wife can fight pretty well. Okay, I got it." Zachary did not say anything when his friend praised Serenity's fighting skills. "Are you still at your wife's store? Did you two reconcile? Hurry up and coax her." Girls are easily coaxed. Just get her 2 bouquets of flowers or something she likes. If you don't know what she likes, you can be tacky and transfer her some money. Give her more and make it rain. I guarantee she'll forgive you. I'm on the way back to the office. I need to drive now. Bye. Zachary hung up and thought, what does Serenity like? He did have the chance to know her well enough to know what she liked, except that she was a foodie who loved to eat. Not long after they got their marriage license, Serenity accompanied Jasmine to a dinner party. Zachary's bodyguard saw Serenity and told him that the two ladies huddled in a corner all night, eating and drinking. They slipped away after they had their share of food and drinks without any intentions to befriend the rich people there. Stranger Marriage, Chapter 248. No wonder Jasmine and Serenity were best friends. They were 2 peas in a pod. The tackiest way to coax a girl was to give her money. When Zachary was in the store, he told Serenity they could not accept Alyssa's seafood for free. Thus, he wanted to transfer money to Serenity and ask her to give the money to Alyssa so as not to owe Alyssa a favor. However, Serenity refuted so righteously that he was speechless. They deleted each other's WhatsApp and Serenity blocked his number. If Serenity could not reply to his messages, how could Zachary send her money and make it rain? Zachary regretted that he acted petty. Just because of a little misunderstanding, he had a cold war with his wife and deleted her WhatsApp. He did not know how he could add her back. At Waltham Electronics, Hank came out of the general manager's office with a triumphant smile. When Jessica saw her boss come back with a bright smile, she immediately followed him into the office and closed the door. "Mr. Brown, what did the boss tell you? You look very happy." Hank put down the documents that had been reviewed and signed by the boss before he reached out to grab Jessica's arm and pulled her closer. He embraced her slender waist and said with a smile, "Jessica, take a guess. Is he giving you a promotion or a raise?" Hank shook his head. There were 2 deputy general managers above him. One of the 2 deputy general managers was the boss's friend and the other was the boss's younger brother. Thus, it was impossible for Hank to be promoted to deputy general manager. Hank was well content to be a manager. He would not get a salary increment either. At most, he would get an extra bonus. Now that he could make extra money, he did not care about the bonus. "You're so annoying, I don't want to guess anymore. Hurry up and tell me, what's the good news?" Jessica looked at him coquettishly. Hank kissed her on the cheek and said in a hoarse voice, "I'll tell you if you let me kiss." Hey, didn't you just kiss me?" Hank looked at her affectionately. Jessica saw Hank's yearning look, so she finally lowered her head and kissed his lips passionately. After their French kiss, Hank said, "The boss didn't give me a raise or a promotion, but gave me an invitation to a business reception and asked me to attend in his stead tonight. He said the elites in the business world will attend this event. This shows that the boss trusts me. I'll have more opportunities to meet other bigwigs, which will be of great help to me in the future." Hank was happy that the boss trusted him to give him an opportunity to enter high society. In the boss's words, Hank would not be able to participate in this event if the boss and the 2 deputies could not attend. That really flattered him. "Jessica, please accompany me to the event this evening. The reception is held at Wiltspoon Hotel, which won't be open to the public tonight." In order to please Jessica, Hank often brought Jessica to the Wiltspoon Hotel with him. Thus, they were quite familiar with the city's most luxurious hotel, but that could not compare to attending the reception tonight as a VIP. Hearing this, Jessica looked elated and said with a smile, "You're right. The boss gave you this opportunity because he thinks highly of you and trusts you. Do you really want to take me there? Why don't you bring your wife?" Usually, everyone would bring their spouse to attend such occasions. Of course, some bosses would go with their secretaries. At the mention of Liberty, the smile on Hank's face disappeared. He said with disgust, "I would rather go alone than bring Liberty with me." Stranger Marriage, Chapter 249, Liberty is fat and ugly. She'll only embarrass me if I take her there. Everyone will laugh at me. After Hank finished speaking, he pinched Jessica's pretty face and praised her. "How can she compare to you, Jessica? You're the apple of my eye now, and I don't have any feelings for her anymore. I can't forgive her for chasing me down the block with a kitchen knife. Although she apologized and treated me better than before, I just couldn't forgive her. If I didn't run fast enough that day, she would have stabbed me to death. She's vicious. I've known her for so many years and only realized how vicious she was that day. If it wasn't for Sunny, I wouldn't want to go back to that house. Besides, my mother and my sister mentioned that I bought the house before marriage where I paid the down payment and am paying the mortgage. So why should I let her live there? She doesn't have a good relationship with my family. Jessica, you've met my parents and sister. What do you think of them?" Jessica thought about it and said, "They're decent. Your parents, sister, and brother-in-law are all easy to get along with and are polite." She was extra attentive to Hank in front of the Browns and took good care of him. The Browns were not blind, so how could they not figure out her relationship with Hank? Although the Browns were not enthusiastic toward her, they were not hostile to her either because she was Hank's lover. They were still well-mannered. Later, when Mrs. Brown saw that Jessica was overly kind to Hank, Mrs. Brown's attitude toward her improved greatly. Chelsea even took Jessica to go shopping and bought her some new clothes, which were expensive. "My family is so nice. They usually treat Liberty well, but Liberty doesn't get along with my family. She speaks ill of my parents and sister. In short, she thinks everyone in my family is horrible and that she's the best person in the world." If Liberty heard this, she would be livid. The Browns were great at pretending. Liberty had been in the workplace for a few years, and was not someone stupid, but she was deceived by Hank and his family. Before marriage, Hank's family treated her nicely and, well into the first year of their marriage, Liberty thought she married the right person. After Sonny was born, the Browns probably thought that having a child would make Hank and Liberty's marriage stable, so they began to reveal their true colors. Your family is so nice. Is Liberty still not satisfied? She's asking for too much. Jessica wanted to be better than Liberty and beat her in everything. Maybe it's because of her sister. After Liberty and I got married, her sister lived with us. Although my sister-in-law chipped in some living expenses, she only gave $2,000 a month. What's the use of that? Everything now is so expensive. I got impatient since she had been living with us for a long time. My sister-in-law was sensible and moved out on her own accord, but Liberty kept throwing tantrums. I told you the reason I quarreled with her. She was mad at me thinking that I kicked her sister out, so she didn't cook for me. She didn't do my laundry and only did half of everything in the house and had met complete the other half. I'm so busy at work and I have to put up with her when I get home. That's why I quarreled with her and hit her in a fit of anger. Who would have known she was such a lunatic? She held a kitchen knife and chased me down the block. If I didn't run as fast as I could, you'd probably have to talk to me at my grave. After hearing this, Jessica was heartbroken and said, "Darling, you've had it tough. Let's not talk about her anymore to not spoil your good mood. What time is the reception this evening? I don't have a gown. It starts at 7:30. It's okay. I'll take you out now to buy 2 sets of outfits. We may have to attend such events more often in the future, so you should buy 2 of them." Hank was stingy with Liberty. He recuperated at his parents' house after being beaten by Liberty and asked her to refund his share of the. To listen full and free, The Married at First Sight by Lingfei, please access the website novelsaudio.com and search keywords Married at First Sight or click the link in the description of this video.
Welcome to novelsaudio.com. We hope you have a relaxing and enjoyable time.